everybody. It's 7 o'clock, 7:01 now. Welcome to the Southington Town Council meeting, Monday, June 8th, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Josh Serafino.
Here.
David Zoni.
Here.
Jennifer Klopp.
Here.
Michael Del Santo.
Present.
Kristen Gaida.
Here.
James Morelli.
Here.
Tony Morrison.
Here.
Christopher Palmieri.
Here.
Paul Chaplinsky.
Here. Looks like we have everybody. We have Councilman Morelli, who is remote. If everybody can please stand for the prayer and oh, I'm sorry. We're not standing now. My apologies. We're going to do a public hearing today first. My apologies, everybody. So item number 1 in the public hearing is sewer code revision, and I have to read this into the record, so please bear with me for a minute. Available public sewer shall be within 50 feet of subject property's lot frontage, or require less than 200 feet of building sewer as measured from the public sewer to the building drain, unless the town engineer determines site conditions make such a connection impracticable. Sewer service area. This area includes that currently have sanitary sewer infrastructure already installed and areas for which sanitary sewer infrastructure may be planned. Areas located within the boundary line shown on the sewer service area map are included in the long-term planning process for providing sewage treatment at the Southington Water Pollution Control Plant. So again, this is a revision to our sewer code that I just read into the record. And before we go into public comment, does somebody want to just explain maybe the purpose behind this so that there's a little bit of background on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working with Dave Norris. There has been a couple of situations that have popped up over the years where the sewer area or how far a hookup needs to be wasn't really defined. So it kind of created a situation for some people that created an inequitable result. And the last situation that popped up was a citizen that was required to hook up to the sewer, but he was some 200 plus feet away from the hookup, and it would have cost more to hook up to the sewer than the house was worth. So Dave and I tried to get together to find a solution that benefited everyone and gave some objectiveness to what is necessary for a sewer hookup. So I give a lot of credit to Mr. Norris. He looked at a number of different municipalities. We talked about it with the ordinance committee and Tony, and ultimately brought it to the town council last meeting. So.
Tony, please, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick thing. I think, the issue is that we still have people with septic systems within the sewer area. And every so often when, their sewer and their septic system fails, because they're in that area, we do mandate that they hook up to the sewer system. But, as Lou said, in the case of some of those folks, they're going to be, one guy, the one you worked on with Dave, he said he had to sell his house in order to afford the sewer hookup. So we sort of narrowed it, restricted it to a certain amount that's not going to kill you, but we still would like you to hook up to the sewer system if you possibly can. We don't like, you can have septic systems all you want, but if they fail, it's certainly a problem, and it'll be a problem that affects everybody. That's why we like people to hook up. That's it.
Wonderful,
Only
thank you.
Other thing I'll add is it's going to be in section 345.1, the definition section. So that's where these two terms, available and sewer service, should be added.
345-1.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. With that, are there any other questions from the dais? Because I know we talked about this last time, so probably not, but if there's no questions, we're going to open it up to the public. Okay. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak about this new sewer code revision? Does anybody, any member of the public like to speak in favor or against this? Please form a line if you would like to line up. Okay. Doesn't look like there's a whole bunch of folks. Last call? Okay. We will close the public hearing, and we will now move into our prayer and flag salute if everybody can stand.
Heavenly ability this night to see past what is first apparent and into the very heart of issues that are presented. Keep us open and willing to hear the concerns of the people of this community and give us the courage to act upon those things which are best for Southington. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thanks, everybody. We're going to move on to item number 2, which is our meeting, we're looking for an approval of the town council meeting minutes from May 26, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, a motion from Chris and a second from Mike. Any discussion on the minutes? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Item number 3, councilperson communications. Floor is open. Why don't we, since Jim is remote, we'll give Jim the first opportunity. Jim, it's councilperson communications. Would you like to say anything?
I have nothing to report tonight, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I'll kick it off then.
Tony?
Yeah, I just want to say something quickly, which was a few meetings ago, I talked about Bradley Hospital. I went to a ribbon cutting there where they opened up a few capabilities, which is great for us to see, I think. And this weekend I had an issue that I had to attend myself, the emergency room, because I had appendicitis. But I'd just like to say that they were very good. They diagnosed it very, very quickly. They have scans there, obviously, the blood work, etc. And in short order, they shipped me off to New Britain. Sorry, Central Connecticut, although we all call it New Britain, right, still? Yeah. So I'd just like to give a shout out to them. They have a very good emergency room. They're very courteous. They have the capabilities there. And I was very grateful to them. That's it.
Glad you got that taken care of.
Wow.
And glad you're here. That was pretty quick.
Oh,
Madam Vice Chair, will you keep an eye on him for the rest of the meeting and
it's
make
only
sure he's
the
okay?
appendix, for God's
He's
sake.
got a coffee, so I think he's doing well.
It's only
okay.
an appendix.
Right, that's all. All right, anybody else? Anybody else? Chris?
I have a couple items. Very, very timely, as we have a photo from when Austin Florian, our Olympian, came to visit the council. I'd like to just acknowledge and thank him. He has now visited almost all our elementary and middle schools in town to talk about his journey, taking him to the Olympics. Students were able to ask questions. He brought in a lot of the props, some of which he brought here and shared with us. So it's just great to see a hometown hero literally go into the schools and talk to all our students. So shout out to Austin and thank him for doing that for us. Just quick congratulations to all our graduating seniors. Graduation is a little different this year. Graduation is taking place this Thursday, unlike the rest of the district that has a whole week of school beyond that. The last day of school officially is on the 18th. But again, graduation is June 11th this year at Southington High School, and at which Austin Florian will be a speaker at graduation this year. So that ties those two together very nicely. Just a quick update. Vicki, I saw in the audience, shared some great things going on for America 250. As I think I mentioned at the last meeting, the school district decided to do celebrations really throughout the month, but June 4th was really the big date. Obviously, we're not in school July 4th, so many schools celebrated on June 4th across the district. The district hosted a red, white, and blue dress down day. The proceeds, I know we spoke about it here, will go towards the veterans, the graduating veterans luncheon, which was great. But several programs include plans again, through the end of school now, for patriotic music and decor, whole school photos. One school class are looking to the future by creating a school time capsule, deciding how to represent their lives in 2026 to Southington students 25 to 50 years from now. Other schools, students are turning their attention to the past, making connections to colonial history through presentations and visits to local and state landmarks. So again, there's a lot trying to draw out that rich history in our country. So it's great to see that happening at all levels in our schools. A couple more quick things. Our monthly STEPS update. First of all, through the town manager, the position, now that it passed the budget, should be, I think it's clear to the union at this point, so it should be.
We've got several applicants
Excellent.
internally, so we're going to start reviewing those resumes this week and start scheduling interviews.
Great, so the position is officially posted. But as far as Steps to Group, the organization that runs the Youth Gambling Awareness Project worked closely with gambling industry partners, Mohegan Sun and Foxwood, year-round to reinforce safer gambling practices. Through their partnership, the casinos review the videos and Steps Youth Council's video about sports betting that was chosen by Mohegan Sun as their top pick project, which is fantastic. This amazing recognition comes with a $5,000 scholarship that will be split between Youth Council's senior members. Our 5-year Prevention in Connecticut Communities grant focused on reducing underage drinking is coming to a close. We met our goal of reducing the past 30-day alcohol use among Southington students. As reported in the 2024 student survey, 13.1% of students in grades 7, 9, and 11 reported the past 30-day alcohol use, a total reduction of 6.4% from 2020. It's difficult to compare our 2026 survey because the survey this year was given to students in grades 9 through 12 versus 7, 9, and 11 as in past years, so it's not a direct correlation. And finally, congratulations to the 7 senior members of STEPS Youth Council who are graduating, especially Ava LeBlanc, Katie Kavanaugh, and Jackie Liebler, who have been working for STEPS as youth peer ambassadors under our PCC grant for the last 2 years. Under their leadership, Youth Council achieved many notable accomplishments, advocating for stronger kratom restrictions, meeting with Senator Blumenthal, and winning the Prevention Impact Award for Demas. So again, thank you to all of them. And finally, a shout out and thanks to Rachel Waukee from our Veterans Committee. But she is organizing on Saturday, June 13th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. a food drive outside of Stop and Shop to benefit Southington Community Services. Again, Rachel Waukee is coordinating this on behalf of STEPS and the Connecticut Army National Guard. So June 13th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're in the area, stop by and make a donation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else?
Can I just piggyback off that? I'd just like to say, I'd like to give a thank you to Kristen Sandler for all of her work with the STEPS organization. Her time is coming to an end as her grant-funded position is coming to an end, so she will be moving on to other opportunities, but we thank her for all of her hard work that she's done with the organization and all the awards and accolades that she has earned working with the Youth Services Group.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Okay, 2 items for me. The first item is, I had the pleasure of attending the Law Enforcement Torch Run last week for Special Olympics, which carried the torch from Cheshire into Southington, down Main Street, and up Hobart Street, into Pleasant, and to Berlin, where there was an exchange to the Berlin Police Department. So a shout out to our officers and everybody from the police department who participated in that. It's great to see that they continue to support such a worthy cause each and every year. So thank you there. And maybe on behalf of Mike, because I know Mike and his family and friends have been working for the volunteer efforts for the all-night grad party coming up, which I believe is this Thursday, correct? Thursday evening. And for those of you who have had the experience of having a child go through the all-night grad party, you'll probably never forget that, and your child will never forget that. I know I see some folks out here who I know whose kids have gone through that, including mine. And it's a wonderful event that begins at, what time of the evening is it being, Mike?
It starts at 9.
9 p.m., but it goes all night, right till till sunup. Once the students get there, they have to stay there for the evening. So, and that requires a heavy lift from volunteers. So if there's anybody in the community who would like to be part of volunteering for that evening, you could probably reach out to Councilman Del Santo. He can point you in the right direction, but there's only a few days left and still looking for volunteers. So please reach out to us if you're willing and able to do even just a part of the evening. Okay? Thank you. Okay, item number 4, report of special committees, ordinance review, Tony.
Yeah, so a few things. First thing is the blight ordinance. We're looking at the blight ordinance again, even though the committee redid it just a little while ago. But the problem is, in the new blight ordinance, the zoning enforcement officer has pointed out some issues with it that can make him effective. So we agreed to look at it. He's going to work with Lou Martaccio on the committee to take care of some of the things that's causing him problems right now. And the next meeting, we'll examine that and see if we have to change it or not. We'll also look at some other towns at the same time. So Bristol and New Britain we mentioned. Okay, second thing, noise. We had a noise complaint recently that made us look at the noise ordinance again. And we found out that the noise ordinance was actually not in compliant with state legislation for a very obscure reason that was back in the 90s. But it still means that it was never reviewed in the correct way by the state. In order for us to change that and put it in compliance with the state legislation, we looked at it and found there was an awful lot of stuff that needed to be done, which would impose an enormous amount of administrative effort and expense upon the town. So we discussed this and we decided to essentially ask the town council to say, look, we would recommend that the current noise ordinance be repealed, i.e. taken out, and then reserved for future use and consideration during an annual review process. We certainly don't have the time and the ability to support it in town that we should have. So we'll do it at a later date. So we wanted to ask the town council for us to do that. That was our recommendation to you all. Okay. By the way, if we want to add it later on tonight, Mr. Chairman, as a vote, or if you want a discussion, that's fine. Okay. Incident response is being worked on. We talked about that last time. And the last thing, temporary signs. With the spring and early summer here, temporary signs issue is back again. We get a lot of temporary signs that people put up, and we have an awful issue in enforcing that, because obviously we don't allow them. We allow them in certain cases, but most of the ones that we have, we don't. The wire signs I'm talking about, for the most part. The police department lacks the time, staffing, and equipment capacity to prioritize sign removal. So at the moment, our enforcement is limited to the zoning officer picking up the signs on his daily rounds and destroying them. So we note this as a perennial issue with all our surrounding towns. It's not just Sullington. Every town around us has the same issue. And we agreed to communicate this discussion to the town council, and I will ask the town manager if there's anything further we can do with communications to make folks more aware of our rules. And we can have a discussion afterwards if you want. That's it from me.
Any questions on ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Item B, Public Works.
Thank you,
Michael.
Mr. Chair. We had our meeting on Wednesday, June 3rd at 4 p.m. right here in this room. It was a very brief meeting. A couple of staff members were unable to attend, so the reports were somewhat light. But from Highway and Parks, it was told that catch basin work is happening right now, preparing for the roads that are going to be happening this summer. Memorial Park opened last Saturday. Rec Park opens, the swimming pools at the parks open up this Saturday. Mr. Chaplinsky is going to be doing a belly flop contest, I think at noon at Rec Park on Saturday. That's what he said. So
If the diving board is still there, I'll do it.
you have to
At
go to
the old, the pond, not the,
swimming
not the,
hole.
yes.
Snakes. Okay, so the pools are opening up for the summer weather, which is going to be great for families. It's always a good time down the park. Pools look fantastic after last year's construction of Rec Park. It looks great. And then engineering also reporting that the town is working very hard on replacing the catch basins and other miscellaneous incidental work related to the road projects. And the commission had a vote on sending back a favorable recommendation to approve the Clark Street Firehouse chip sealing proposal. And that motion passed unanimously. Other than that, that's all I really had. Dave, I'm not sure if I'm missing anything. It was pretty brief. It was a good meeting. Gets like that in the summer. Yes, Chris?
Can I just
Chris.
ask, I don't think you discussed it at the last meeting, but I know I've spoken to the town manager. It would probably be helpful for the public to hear an update on Berlin Street. So that paving is atrocious. I know there, do you mind sharing the updates, Alex, that you and I spoke about?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Mr. Palmieri. So by the end of June, we expect all of the permanent patching to be done. I'm told no later than July 10th is the absolute last cutoff date. It's still gonna be a little bumpy. It's not gonna be great, but it's gonna be hands down better than what's out there now. I believe, Mr. DeSanto, you reported last meeting. Next year, they're gonna do the curb to curb, full mill and repave, so it'll be a brand new road overlaid.
Yeah, there were some questions about people's private property that was disturbed, like patches over sidewalks and aprons, and those will all be repaired. And Mr. Arndt said, yes, from the water department, said that all that will be taken care of, and it'll look exactly like it did before they came on board. So we're crossing our Ts and dotting our Is on that, and that's on my agenda for next year to make sure that that happens before all the trucks pull away.
And the big reason is, since they excavated, they need a year of a frost freeze cycle. Otherwise, if they pave it, it's gonna sink back down, so the state won't allow them to pave it till next year.
That brings up a question for me. If the state is doing that on Berlin, what about Academy in Vermont and all the others? Are we gonna allow?
We're waiting.
So those are in at least both Vermonts and some of the other roads are in just as bad a condition as Berlin. Will we also put a skim coat on that this year to ensure that it's not like that for the next year?
It's not gonna be, when you say skim coat, it's not gonna be like a drywall skim coat. It's gonna
No.
be a nice, high-quality hot patch.
It should be better than it is
rolled
today.
out. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they probably do a little cut and they put a little patch on it, but
Roll.
today, Academy on the Berlin side is horrific. It's a mess, and at the top is pretty bad, and Oak and Merrill and the Vermonts, they're terrible. So I think we have to at least put that better patchwork in this year, so I'm hoping the water department's gonna do that before this paving season's up.
And it doesn't help that the roads were in terrible shape before they dug as
Right.
well, so it's a mess.
Anything's better than what it is right now, and that will hold us over till next year when all of those roads will get
They're all
curb to
on the
curb.
list. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Okay, any questions on Public Works? Any other ones? Okay, item C, open space. Jen?
Yes, so at our meeting on last Thursday, Unico came to present the continuation, I'll say, of an initiative on Goat Island. So Goat Island is an 8-acre parcel off of East Summer Street, for those who don't know. And the parcel holds actually significant historical value, as this was the site of a communal oven used by a number of members of the Italian community to cook bread regularly over 100 years ago. So this would be the resurrection of both the oven and the building to house the oven. Future plans would include school field trips, weekend events that Unico would facilitate. They would maintain this piece of the property, as well as provide security and appropriate safety protocols. And so the Open Space Committee sent a favorable recommendation to have the town enter into a lease with Unico in order to move forward with the initiative. and more to come on this. I'm really, really excited because as a whole, this is a great way to not only restore the area, but also enhance and continue with our theme of aligning open space with historical preservation. So very excited to see what's to come on this initiative.
Any questions on open space? Okay, hearing none. Item D, Veterans Committee. Item 1, homecoming service for MIA soldier, Technical Sergeant Donald A. Dorman. And what I'd like to do is, I'd like to read this document, which I'm going to put into the record. I know it's a little bit long, but given the situation and the amazing work that was done to identify the remains of our missing in action soldier who was from Southington, I think it would be appropriate if you just give me a couple minutes to read this into the record. Donald Arthur Dorman. Donald Arthur Dorman, born November 2nd, 1923 in Southington, Connecticut, was the son of William Dorman and Mary Lillian Parkin Dorman, grandson of Arthur and Genevieve Parkin. While serving in the Army Air Force in World War II, he was technical sergeant in the 429th Bomber Squadron on a mission to bomb an oil refinery located in Roland, Germany. Donald was with 10 other crew members in a B-17G Flying Fortress, serving as engineer upper turret gunner on March 22, 1945, when the bomber was engaged by several German fighter aircraft over Poland. The crew was forced to bail out when the plane was critically damaged. They were fired upon as they parachuted to the ground. Only 2 survived, the strafing, and Donald was declared MIA after investigations took place at the crash site in Glinica, Poland, where his remains were later discovered and subsequently identified through extensive analysis. His commendations and awards include Silver Star, Air Medal with 3 bronze oak leaf clusters, Purple Heart, World War II Victory Medal, American Campaign Medal, Presidential Union Citation with 1 oak leaf cluster, Army Good Conduct Medal, European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal with 4 bronze service stars, Honorable Service Lapel Button, World War II, and U.S. Army Air Force Aerial Gunner Badge Wings. The Silver Star was awarded for gallantry in action. Sergeant Dorman participated in a bombing mission against strategic enemy installations in Germany. At the target, they were opposed by the enemy with a concentrated barrage of heavy and accurate anti-aircraft fire. One of the bombs in the bomb bay became faulty, and the fuse spinner became free. Despite the grave danger and at very high altitude with oxygen, Sergeant Dorman succeeded in stopping the revolving spinner and pushed off the bomb, which threatened to explode and ruin the ship and probably take the lives of the crew. Due to extreme cold, both of Sergeant Dorman's hands were frozen, and when he left the bomb bay, he became unconscious because of lack of oxygen. At 21 years old, he was unmarried and had no children, but nevertheless, he was greatly missed and often spoken of by his large family over the span of many years. A memorial service will be celebrated at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, June 23, 2026, at the First Congregational Church, 37 Main Street, Southington, Connecticut. Following the church service, Donald will finally be laid to a well-deserved rest with full military honors at Oak Hill Cemetery, 95 Flanders Street, Southington, Connecticut. A celebration of life will follow the funeral services at 12 o'clock noon, and that's going to be at the Elks Club. I'm sorry, that's going to be at First Congregational Church. Is that correct, Alex? Celebration of life will be following the funeral service. Sorry, 12 o'clock noon at the Elks. Calling hours will be 5 to 7 p.m. on Monday, June 22nd, 2026, at the Plantsville Funeral Home, 975 South Main Street, Plantsville, Connecticut. For online condolences and directions, please visit plantsvillefuneralhome.com. And then lastly, the Vice Chair and I have put together a Town Council official proclamation where we will declare Technical Sergeant Donald A. Dorman Day, Tuesday, June 23rd, here in the town of Southington, 2026. So we'll put those into the record for today, and we would encourage everybody from the community who is willing and able and would like to participate in any of those services, either the wake, the service at First Congregational Church, the burial at Oak Hill Cemetery, or the celebration of life at the Elks Club. Anybody from the community who would like to attend that, that's open to the public. And we'll give these, I'll give that to the town clerk. And Kathy, if it's okay, I'm going to give you the digital copy of this one, okay? Because Alex, you're going to take, that's the original. Okay. Any other questions on the homecoming services? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, the town manager's report and communications. A, fire memorandum for authorization to apply for FEMA assistance to firefighters grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'm going to ask our fire chief, Mr. Scott Lee, to come up and present. He's got a brief presentation on the first few items under my report. So I'm going to turn it over to him for items 1, 2, 3, and I'm A, B, C.
We'll take them one at a time, and we'll take one at a time. So the first one, Chief, is fire memorandum for authorization to apply for FEMA assistance to the firefighters grant.
Correct. The FEMA AFG grant is open now, and the proposal that we have is to replace 60 SCBA's, which is scheduled to be replaced in fiscal year '28 by moving it up and using the capital funds we have to replace the cylinders that we already committed to for this upcoming fiscal year. Will save the town in the range of about $284,000 over the cost of it. So every year we're seeing 3 to 5% increases in the industry for the SCBA. I'd rather capitalize on it now if we can. The cost match is going to be about $100,000. So Captain Coleman can speak to it more as he's our head grant writer and is magical with this. There you go, Captain.
Good evening. Daniel Coleman, I'm a
Good
captain
evening.
with the fire department. Been with Southington for 14 years. So grants have been my thing for almost my whole career. So we've gotten a lot of good funding for the town of Southington, up to around $6 million since I started doing it. So this AFG program, Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, it has been delivered almost yearly since 2003. So this is for equipment and training versus the SAFER, which we'll talk about after this, is for staffing and recruitment. So this is just representing an equipment process to obtain new self-contained breathing apparatus. There's a cost share involved, which chiefly is kind of designed in our capital fund to absorb some of that cost share, most of it, which will enable us to get 60 new air packs, replace aged out air packs is what we use on all fires, hazardous materials incidents, and we just have to stay up with the standards to protect our people. So this covers the cylinders, the air packs, the delivery, and then the implementation of them. Okay.
Thank you. Please, Mike.
So could you just repeat what the total amount of the grant is?
It's
And
capped
you
at
said the
$1
cost share
million.
was $100,000, so,
Yes, it's 10% share.
great, thank you.
Any other questions? Chris?
So just to clarify, is everything up to date currently? It's just we're being proactive?
Yes,
So there's
it's
nothing
going to age out in the next 3 years, I believe it is.
Okay, so
So we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, so we're not in a position where Cheshire was. We'd originally planned on teaming with Cheshire to do the grant as a group for our mutual aid partners, because it's capped at $1 million and they have a larger ask, and they're in a much worse shape than we are for their air packs. Theirs are expiring in October, so they're in deep, dark stuff.
Okay, great. And then you said it's a 10% match, so about $10,000, and you have that in?
We have $80,000 for the cylinder replacement for this upcoming fiscal year. I have some funds I should be able to carry forward to help match that, plus we have funds in next year's budget to cover the remainder of it, so it'll put us in a much better shape.
Great, thank you.
Chief, can you just clarify, is the town share 100,000 or is the town share 10,000?
100,000.
The town's share is 100,000, so it's $1 million, we pay 10, we pay 100,000.
Oh, got it.
Understood.
I'm
Okay.
glad you clarified, because I did, now I get it.
Got it. But I think we have 80,000 in our capital that we've already approved in this current capital budget cycle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
So that 80,000 would go to this.
Correct.
and then
So-
we would just,
Yep.
okay.
Okay, what other questions do we have? Dave?
Just a quick question. So it appears that you're going to file for the maximum that this grant allows, which is $1
Yeah,
million.
unfortunately, we'd like to go for more. We have, what's our, 75 or?
73 air packs.
Yeah, 73 air packs is what we have currently, but with the cost of going up so much, that's past the $1 million mark, so we're doing what we can to stay within that budget, and get as
Is there
much
a-
done as we can.
Is there a possibility that who's ever authorizing this grant would give you a grant but at a lower level? Would they say?
Unfortunately, no. So they cap the amounts based on the total population served. So we're under 100,000. So we're at that $1 million cap for the AFG program for equipment and
So
training.
it's all or nothing, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Please, Tony.
It's a question for this one and the next one as well, which is what is this, do you think the success rate is of the grant applications?
It's a great question. So on average, there's around 2,100 applications every cycle for each, the AFG and the SAFER program, and there's around 190 awards out of those applications. So we've been super successful. I believe we've received maybe 2 turndowns out of 7 or 8 grants in my tenure. So it's all about how we put it together and justify it, and we're pretty good at it. So.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair.
Okay, so I think, so you mentioned savings of more than $250,000, but isn't the savings more like almost upwards of $800,000 or $900,000?
Based on 3% increases each year, that's where I came up with the 284,000.
Oh, okay, based on the
So
increase.
the industry may slow down, which it's starting to, but to be on the safe side, we'll stay ahead of that large curve so that we're not spending as much money to replace those air packs.
But if we get the grant, then it's almost $800,000 that the town would not have to.
Absolutely, yeah, the feds are picking up
Yeah.
$900,000.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah,
point that out.
exactly. So there's
because-
multiple avenues of
Yeah,
savings there. Yeah.
first of all, I applaud you for continuing to write these because that is a very large amount of money. Thank you. And I wanted to just highlight that as a huge savings. Thank you.
And just to confirm, if we weren't going for the grant and we had the 80,000 in capital, how many air packs would that buy?
That would buy 7.
7. With the grant, it's going to allow us to go for 60. So that's where the big difference is here. Okay, very good. Any other questions?
Thank you for your grant writing. What is the lifespan of these cylinders?
Cylinders have a 15-year lifespan. The air packs, depending on when they were built and what edition of the NFPA standard they were
Chief.
constructed to.
Could you just move up to the microphone?
Sure, sorry.
Yeah.
Cylinders have a 15-year lifespan. The SCBA, the air packs themselves, depends on which NFPA standard they're using. So usually you get a 15-year cycle out of them, if not 20, depending on, again, that NFPA standard compliance. So depending on how fast the industry moves, hopefully they slow down a little bit. That would be good, so we can get a little longer out of them.
And then I'm assuming they have to be serviced and all of those
Annual,
things.
yep. Annually, they get flow tested to make sure that they are capable of doing what they're supposed to do by the standard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Chief, we're going to go on to the second one. Fire memorandum for authorization to apply for federal DOT SS4A grant.
So this is a federal Department of Transportation grant, and it's created to reduce deaths on roadways. It's called Safe Streets for All. This is another grant that Captain Coleman found, which will help us offset the cost of the requested station alerting system, and it will also help upgrade the computer-aided dispatch system to help reduce our response times. You're on again, Captain.
This was a good find. Normally, this program doesn't address emergency response. Normally, it's creating action plans and studies and things of that nature and highway projects. But basically, they have a facet for emergency response. So the idea is reducing the number of fatalities on roads, and this is state-owned, town-owned, whatever's in our jurisdiction. So reducing fatalities and then reducing the number, or reducing the severity of serious injury incidents. So we're using this as a way to improve our communication across fire, police, ambulance, and central dispatch. while upgrading our systems and our fire stations that ultimately will improve turnout times and response times and get us more information that we need for responding to traffic incidents. So we worked on this together with SPD, also working on an initiative for them for traffic safety. I don't want to speak on it for them because it may be a security issue, but we're piggybacking it with them as well as with Mitch from Information Technologies, upgrading our GIS capabilities and then letting all of our systems talk together with GIS because it's all about data for everything we do. So the feds are offering funds for this, so it's a project we put together to send forward and kind of see where it sticks. So, any questions?
Any questions? Dave?
So what is the total cost of this grant?
So the total cost is $440,000 requested to the feds, and then there's a 20% cost share that the town will have to pick up that will be divided between SPD, the fire department, and then IT.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, could you just give us a sense of what we have now as opposed to what it will look like after we get this?
Yeah, great question.
Without compromising the safety stuff with
Yeah,
the PD.
yeah. I won't speak on the police department things. It's a project they
Oh, yeah, I
already
understand. Yeah, I
have in
understand.
place. It's
This
just,
is
it's elaborating what they already have and making it work better. For our side of things, our station alerting system, so when someone calls 911 and they report a house fire and it goes to central dispatch, they have to alert the fire department. So right now it's through open radio traffic. So it keys in, there's speakers like there's in here, in all of our fire stations, and they tell you, there's an alert tone, it tells you what the call is, where you're going, and that's it. So our systems are, I mean, they're dating back from as old as the fire stations are. They're more like phone PA systems. So the systems that we need to replace are making them more reliable, and it's also giving us more information. So the speed in which we can get the information, it's automated from a computer based on how we load it at dispatch. So we're getting, as soon as it's keyed into the computer, it's immediately sending it to the fire stations without having a delay, which we do now, because it takes time to process, it takes time to press a button, and it takes time to talk and tell us where we're going. So it basically automates all of that response to shorten the amount of time it takes for us to get the information and go to the call.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
I'm guessing that can also be made digitally too, since it's being sent automatically,
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
So
Yeah, so
you'll get
it's-
it audio and you'll get it
It's
in a
visual,
computer.
it's screens, it's a lot
That's
of
great.
different things, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on the item B, the federal DOT grant? And these two, as a reminder, these are authorizations to apply for the grant. Okay, item C, 2026 SAFER grant recommendation. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Wilk, Chairman of the Fire Commission, is going to start us off. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity, your time and interest in this, of course, very important matter. My name is Tim Wilk. I am the Chairman of the Board of Fire Commissioners, and our request is for permission to proceed with an application for the SAFER grant, specifically for 12 firefighters. This request comes after careful consideration of a number of factors. I'll touch on some of those important factors. Captain Coleman, whom you have realized by now is a very talented and successful grant writer, will follow up with a very informative slideshow presentation. The 3-year cost savings to the town through the grant would be $3,102,847.30, with an additional estimated $500,000 in overtime savings. By the time that the town assumes the full expense at the end of the 4th year, the impact to the taxpayers would be approximately a 0.245 mil increase, or about $60 for every $250,000 of assessed property value. In return, Sullyton would fully staff 3 fire stations 100% of the time, provide significantly greater townwide coverage, including a 75% increase in coverage for the south end of town, reduced response times, and a dramatic reduction in reliance on mutual aid for emergency operations. Beyond the numbers, the impact on morale, recruitment, and retention cannot be overstated. This plan would also create career advancement opportunities for our volunteers, allowing the department to retain and promote homegrown talent, reduce the expense of outside hiring, and streamline the onboarding process. We firmly believe that now is the time to strike. There already has been a significant change in the cost-sharing percentages. It used to be 100%. We can all agree on where this is trending. There's no certainty about what will be available to us at the next grant application opportunity. The grant application buys the town time to further analyze and strategize on this opportunity. I get the sense in the fire department that we're reaching a fever pitch. These guys are discouraged and they're beleaguered. They've said to themselves, we finally feel like we have a board that listens and advocates for us. We're not currently prepared for succession planning. Achieving 12 firefighters through the grant solves so many gaping holes and would, pardon the expression, put the fire out on this perpetual distraction of having adequate staffing. This gives us the opportunity to apply and sets the stage for an impactful and valuable move on personnel that should avoid further need for years to come. The chief expressed that he's falling further and further behind on records management since the budget hearing. The further this goes on, the less likely we'll be able to provide accurate and timely information to make an educated decision. Above all other things, the chief continues to lament about needing adequate staffing. There's a universally accepted formula for success. It's when opportunity and need meet. We're going to clearly articulate our need. You folks will have the opportunity, so we're asking for you to unite with us to come to a successful resolution on this. Before turning this over to the chief and the captain, I would ask what you think is more expensive, the price of change or the price of regret? While the significant increase in personnel may come as a shock at face value, this proposal has been carefully developed to balance a critical public safety need with fiscal responsibility. This strategy represents the most effective long-term solution for building the department's staffing bench while creating the capacity necessary to significantly control and reduce overtime costs in the future. Rather than continuing to rely on increasingly expensive overtime to fill vacancies and maintain minimum staffing levels, this approach invests in a sustainable workforce that strengthens emergency response capabilities, improves operational resilience, and provides greater value to taxpayers over time. At any point, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We're open to suggestions. Also, as we move along, at this time, I'll turn it over to Captain Coleman and Chief Lee for their slideshow presentation.
Captain, you've been deferred to.
I've been deferred.
Please.
Okay. All right. If you guys want to stop me, if you have a question on a slide, feel free. Casual conversation, it's all good. All right. So I just want to go over what your current staffing level is in the town of Southington. This is on-duty career staffing. It's a little hard for you guys to see. So at current, Monday through Friday, during the daytime, during weekday hours, we have a maximum of 10 firefighters on duty with a minimum of 9. We're able to drop to 9 firefighters. Nights and weekends, that number drops to 7 maximum and a 6 minimum. All right, so at current, we have a battalion chief vehicle that's staffed with 1 battalion chief. Truck 1, which is based out of fire headquarters, is staffed with a captain, a driver, and a firefighter. That's allowed to drop to 2 firefighters, depending on time off metrics. And we have Squad 5, which is staffed on the north end of town on River Street with a lieutenant, driver, and a firefighter. And then Squad 1, which is our daytime weekday engine, which was funded through a FEMA grant in 2021. That is a lieutenant, a driver, and a firefighter. And that crew goes home at 3 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday and Fridays, and 4 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursdays for a 42-hour work week. Just some key facts about the department. As you know, we're protecting over 44,000 residents and many more visitors, over 37 square miles, and we answer around 2,600 calls for service a year. And then just a quick note, 75% of the time, we're doing the math on how many hours are in a week. 6 to 7 career firefighters are responsible for protecting the entire town. That 25% is that daytime, weekday staffed engine at Station 3. Total of 32 career line personnel, that's not including administrative and fire marshal personnel. So just a little background. For administrative personnel distribution, we have fire chief, assistant chief position, which is vacant currently, the deputy chief of training and safety, a deputy fire marshal. We have 2 inspector firefighters assigned to the fire marshal's office, 1 executive assistant, which is eliminated in fiscal year 26-27, and then we have 1 administrative assistant. So a total of 8 admin staff at this time, and it's at 6 starting in July.
Captain, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So just going back to the first one, and just,
Yep.
just to kind of maybe just summarize a
Yeah,
little
of
bit.
course.
Without looking at the trucks,
Yep.
but just staffing.
Yep.
So at headquarters on North Main Street, 24/7.
Yep. If you hang on 1 second, I'm going to go to each station. It'll make it even more clear for you.
Perfect, thank you.
So fire headquarters, North Main Street. Our administrative offices, so the chief's office, deputy chief, and then the fire marshal's office, administrative assistant. Central hub for department management and the fire marshal's office. At that station, we have truck 1, which is staffed 24/7. That's the ladder truck, has a captain, a driver, and a firefighter, and that truck does drop down to a captain and a driver at times, depending on staffing levels. Car 4, which is the battalion chief, is also staffed at a fire headquarters 24/7. He's responsible for managing the entire town, incidents, and then administrative duties such as hiring, things of that nature. Engine 12, which is operated by Company 1, volunteers, is also staffed at that station, stationed at that station.
On an as-needed basis?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Station 2 on West Main Street. This is all volunteer station. Engine 21, Tanker 2, and Brush 2 are stationed there. Station 3 on Clark Street. So this is where Squad 1 is staffed. And this is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 to 3, and Tuesday, Thursday, 7 to 4. Again, that's 25% of the total hours in a week. And that was from a SAFER grant from 2021. Station 5 on River Street is where Squad 5 is housed, 24/7 engine company with a lieutenant, a driver, and a firefighter. So where do we fall short? So we like to look at metrics, response times, assembly rates, and this is all stemming from recent studies that were done, the master plan, and then how we keep up with our stats now. So some of the performance gaps that we are experiencing. Response times, inconsistent relative to NFPA benchmarks, which I'm going to go into a little bit about what NFPA is in a couple slides. NFPA 1720, which is the scene assembly metrics. This is how many firefighters are on scene within a certain amount of time that's outlined by NFPA to accomplish certain tasks that are required on a fire ground. We're always fighting the clock. So everything that we do, we're fighting that clock against the time. Right? A building fire, a critical medical incident, cardiac incident, a bleeding, a car accident with someone trapped, we're always fighting the clock. So metrics such as response times, turnout times are super important for delivery of fire services. Now, it's the collective goal of the Southington Fire Department and the Board of Fire Commissioners to achieve a 6-minute response time townwide, no matter where you live, and get a fire truck within 6 minutes of calling 911. And that's the department's goal. If you look on the right, we just have a simple graph just outlining where we match up to the standard, and then as well as using our career staffing and then our volunteer staffing. So as you can see, using a 6-minute benchmark, we are way outside of that for our averages. Right? We average around 12 minutes as a total response time, including career and volunteer units, and then if we break it down, we're within 12 to 20 minutes, depending if we're talking career staffed or volunteer apparatus. Do you have a
I
question?
just had one question.
Yeah.
So the minutes that you have here
Yep.
are tracked at the time that the call comes into?
Yeah, so this is total response time metric. So the 911 call goes into central dispatch, they process the call, and then they send it out on the station alerting system. So the clock starts when the call is sent to the fire department. So that includes the turnout time, how long it takes me to get to my ladder truck, and then how long it takes for us to get from the firehouse to the scene. And that's the total response time.
So the new technology, if we get it, will
Yep.
not have any effect on these times? Because this is when the call comes to the fire department, or no, it will because it's.
It will give us more information a lot faster
Okay.
as to what needs to go to it for resources and better resource allocation. So definitely it will improve some of those times, not drastically, we're talking like seconds, but just better information for us. Yep,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So we're seeing, if we just focus on career right now.
Yep.
Roughly 11 minutes to almost 15 minutes is kind of like the range that we see, depending on, time of day or the type of call. And quick question for you. What's the typical, can you give me like a rule of thumb? What's the turnout time for you guys when you get the call to when you're in your truck and rolling? How long does it typically take you? Is it 30 seconds or is it like 5 minutes?
So for an EMS incident, because we're not putting turnout gear on, it's 60 seconds.
Okay.
And then for a building fire, hazmat, extrication, or motor vehicle accident, we're at 80 seconds.
80 seconds,
Because
so a
that's the
minute and a
time to put
half.
our gear on and things like that.
Okay, just kind of puts in perspective that
Yeah.
the vast majority of this time is transport time.
It's travel time.
Travel time, right? Understood.
Especially taking into account when Station 3 is not staffed, the time it takes for Truck 1 to get to the south end of town is at that 14-minute mark for a lot of that area. And then looking at when we send Squad 5 to the south end, it's a significant amount of travel time.
Understood.
So
Thank
we
you.
do a lot of traveling. Anyone else before I move on? We're going to hit a little bit more on some of these metrics, but.
No, it's
sir.
about
Yeah.
response time.
Yeah.
Is response time considered as part of the public protection clause?
For ISO?
Classification? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but we're class 3, which puts us in the top 13% of
Correct.
Southington fire departments. But you're saying our response time is, shall we say, not, I wouldn't have thought that would have put us in that category.
ISO, which I do have a slide on that. ISO is looking at the overall mechanics of the fire department. So the number of fire apparatus, the number of particular apparatus, the water supply system, which Southington Water
right.
handles for us, right? All of those things, the infrastructure involved to set those insurance ratings. As far as operations and the number of people on scene, they don't dictate any of that or look into that as in their ratings. So it's really just based on your infrastructure, your systems, your apparatus, and your water.
Staffing and training, right, as well?
No, not training.
Staffing, okay.
No.
Staffing, yeah.
Captain, if I can ask one more
Yes, sir.
question. Obviously, you're not going to do this now, but you may have an idea of the orders of magnitude.
Yep.
For future graphs, it may be worth putting in some range charts on this. So for example, for the fire calls, show us what the typical, show us what the lower limit is,
Yeah,
and then the
absolutely.
higher.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, you told us, like, for example, Station 3, weekends and nights. I'm guessing if there's something on the south side of the town, we're going to see higher times.
Absolutely. And
So,
that,
because you're only showing us the average.
yeah, so that 25% of the time that is staffed, our numbers are doing really well. And I'll get to that, what we're doing well, because
Okay.
our trends are going up. It's just bridging that gap and filling that gap that we have.
Gotcha.
At nights and weekends. All right, so what is NFPA, what is ISO, and what is OSHA? So NFPA, you hear that a lot. It's a consensus standard for deployment, staffing, operational job performance requirements. All right, so this is set by not just professionals like us, but city managers, professionals within the industry, equipment manufacturers, apparatus manufacturers, so it's consensus. They all come together and update these standards. So it's not just one side doing this. ISO, which is the International Organization for Standardization, like I said, that's property protection, so it's looking at the risk to these structures, commercial and residential. So it's looking at the systems resources evaluation, so the water, the apparatus, the buildings, all things like that. And that's what the insurance ratings come off, and that's where our rates are seen, especially for commercial customers. Like the councilman said, Southington's a 3? Right? So you can compare that to other agencies, but just based on our apparatus, our equipment, and our infrastructure. Now OSHA, this is the legal safety requirement. So OSHA looks over us. They're looking at life safety, operational safety standards, staffing and deployment, and they established that minimum 2 in, 2 out, which I can talk about in a little bit. So those are who we use for determining what we need for staffing and what we need for training, and all of those things that go into building a fire department. All right, so looking at, this is our current daytime weekday staffing with Station 3 staffed. All right, so you can see on the map, we have a red dot on the top, that's Station 5. The red dot in the middle is fire headquarters, and the dot in the southernmost part is Station 3. All right, and the colors are representing the travel times from those stations when they're staffed. So you can see when that Station 3 is staffed, the majority of the populated areas of the south end of town is within that 4-minute travel time. And as we start to expand out, we only can, drive apparatus so fast and get so far within a certain amount of time, it starts expanding to those 8-minute marks. The areas that don't have any color at all are past the 8-minute mark. Okay, so I have a comparison here of day versus night, but this is right now where we are, 3 staff stations during the week during the daytime hours. Now, this is the nighttime hours. Station 5, which is staffed 24/7, fire headquarters in the middle, and then Station 3 unstaffed. So you can see quickly how that 8-minute expands or surrounding Station 3, and then that also over 8 minutes expands dramatically by losing that staffing at that station. And then here is the maps together, just a little clearer visual on that, what happens when those firefighters go home at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. This is year-to-date calls with some new software that we have. This is a heat map of showing every call since January 1. And I just drew a delineation line of typically where that district ends for Station 3 in the south end. So all of those calls that are below there, if they occur after 3 or 4 o'clock, they're receiving that 8+ minute response time. Okay. All right, so NFPA 1720, you guys have heard this before. This is a standard for combination departments for on-scene assembly, the number of firefighters that we get on scene. So it says that 15 personnel are required within a 9-minute mark, okay? And then if an aerial device, a ladder truck, and a supply pump are in operation, that bumps up to 17 people, equating for those positions being used. And this standard is based on a single-family residential structure without a basement, which is difficult for us because all structures have a basement in New England. Now, how do we reach this 15 personnel right now? So career staffing, our primary workforce currently operating at 3 staff stations during the day, during the week, and then 2 nights and weekends. Our volunteer response, so a supplemental local response force from our community members, we average 2.8 responders per incident in a 24-hour period. All right, so typically we're pulling, and on average, 3 firefighters, doesn't matter what time of day it is. And then mutual aid, assistance from neighboring jurisdictions with an average of 20 to 30-minute response time from them depending on where the incident is and also their availability as well. So that's where we're doing the math and making those 15 personnel up. So at current weekday staffing levels, we are able to get close to this number, if not meet it. It's nearly improbable for us nights and weekends to make this happen because we're losing that engine on the south end of town. So we talked about where we fall into line with this. It's all based on population density. And Southington, with its square miles and its residents, we fall under their urban definition for more than 1,000 people per square mile, which gives us the 15 firefighters within 9 minutes on scene. And that's a 90% metric. 90% of the time we're looking for that metric. Talking about OSHA. So OSHA states 2 in, 2 out. So if I show up with my ladder truck, my crew of 3 firefighters, and we're waiting for another apparatus to show up on scene because I technically, per the law, cannot make entry into a ideal age atmosphere, immediately dangerous to life and health. So this could be a hazmat, this could be a house fire. We cannot legally make entry until we have 2 firefighters outside and 2 firefighters able to go inside. And unfortunately, this does not include the incident commander, which is the battalion chief, or the operator of that fire truck. So essentially, until another apparatus arrives on scene, our hands are tied going inside because we're violating OSHA law. So what that means is we have to delay operations until another apparatus arrives on scene. Now, during the daytime, during the week, this is not an issue for us. How the stations are strategically placed, we have apparatus coming either, if it's in the south end of town, 1 in the south and 2 are coming from the north, vice versa. So we're able to get those units on scene fairly quickly, at least 2 simultaneously.
if you don't have another call.
Exactly. Yes. The positive, though, so we have improving metrics. So in 2022 is when we started staffing Station 3 during the day. The grant was in late 2021, and July 1, that's when that started. So we can already see the effects of that. We have, our response times are much greater, or much less in the south end of town, and we're able to assemble that 15 firefighter force within 9 minutes during those hours, and it's working great. Now, this grant, yes, sir.
I had a question. Going back one slide.
Yep.
So let's say it's outside of the 7 to 4 hours.
Yep.
So you have station 1 and 5, and there's a house fire at the south end of town.
Mhm.
I know it's a what-if question, and
Yeah,
those are
absolutely.
never
Yep.
great, but I would assume like ladder 1 and car 4 gets there
Mhm.
way before
Squad 5.
5.
Yep.
Probably a couple minutes, 3, 4, 5 maybe?
So depending where it is, so if we want to use M&W for an example, it takes them about 11 to 12 minutes to get there versus from here, it's about 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay.
So it could be a 4 to 5 minute gap.
So there's a house fire.
Mhm.
So, say, like, you see flames.
Yes.
And somebody says there's people inside.
Yes.
There's nothing, like, you couldn't go
So
in
as it,
per
for a
standards?
known rescue, my baby is in that second floor window, we have the ability to deviate from that law.
Okay.
If we don't know, there's no report, there's cars in the driveway, or we just don't know, because we don't determine a house to be vacant until we search it ourselves. This community's experienced that before, where they thought no one was inside, and there was. We have to wait for that additional personnel, which is for our safety,
no,
right? Have it, because when, in the first 10 minutes of an incident, that is when the vast majorities of Mayday incidents occur. Floor collapses, things of that nature. So that's why we have those safeguards in place. Yep. Sir?
Yeah, as we're going back a bit, the 15 personnel thing.
Yep.
Are there other ways of skinning a cat? We heard during the budget process, for instance, discussions on having different staffing schedules. Contract, which is a union contract, we understand that. But there was some sense of that if that changed, then that would make our staffing situation better. Could we institute things like having people live closer to town, so in case of emergency, they'd be there on the spot, even though they're not obviously on shift? I just wonder if there's other ways of dealing with staff that would,
So
help
I
out.
can give you a prime example. So Chuck and Eddie's, I made a request for 5 firefighters to come back.
Right.
I got 3. Everyone has a work-life balance. Most
I
people don't
understand
want
that,
to
I
work.
understand that.
So having somebody live closer isn't going to change that metric at all. We need the bodies that are on duty plus our volunteers to make this happen. I wish it was as simple as it was in the old days where the tones would go out and you would have 15, 20 career guys come back and 40 and 50 volunteers show up. Those days are gone.
No,
And
understood,
it's unfortunate.
But the contract, if that was changed in some ways, the shift schedules, would that help us out?
Probably not. We're still looking at covering a 42-hour work week. We have people that have been offered jobs for a Monday through Friday position and have turned it down. Fire service in New England traditionally works a 24/72 or 2 days, 2 nights, and 4 days off. Or they work 3 days, three off, 3 nights on, 3 days off. The preferred schedule has always been 24/72. It gives them the best work-life balance, gives them the chance to recover. It's best for their mental health, and it's best for their family life. Thank you.
The vice chair has a question, chief.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, at the same slide, the 2 in, 2 out, it's not as though you're just sitting, waiting, and then when the rest of the crew gets there, you can immediately go in. There's also things that you have to do to set up, correct? Could you just go through that? Because it's just not as simple as like 2 people arriving and then you're ready to go.
Just show up and the magic happens.
Right.
No. So there's multiple things that need to be done simultaneously. So first thing is incident command. So the battalion chief arrives on scene, sizes up the incident, and he starts orchestrating, requesting resources, and then assigning roles. The first arriving company, whether it be a ladder truck engine company, they need to worry about water supply, so finding a nearest hydrant. They're stretching a hose line. They're doing a 360 survey, we call it, of the building, and looking for where the fire is, where it's going, and then things that are going to kill us. So those are all things that are happening simultaneously while we're arriving on scene. But just making entry is requiring us for that 2 in, 2 out, which is putting the fire out, making those searches for trap victims, ventilating the structure, conducting salvage and overhaul. So it's all really manpower intensive items. Yeah.
And just to maybe further elaborate, because remember when I had come and spoken and learned a little bit about this. So the first vehicles that arrive on scene, you have a car.
Yep.
With a battalion chief.
Correct.
He's taking control of the scene, and then you've got, in an ideal situation, you would have 3 people arriving on a truck of some kind.
Yep.
One of them's a truck operator.
Yep.
That driver shouldn't be leaving the truck.
Yep, they're not
After
going
they park
inside
the
the
truck,
building.
they're chocking the wheels, they're pulling levers, they're hooking things up, they're making sure that the truck is gonna function.
Yep.
And then you have somebody who's actually taking gear off, they're taking hose off, and the other person is doing the scene and looking for, around the building. So, when you talk about 2 in, 2 out, you've got 4 there, but the battalion chief can't,
Yeah,
unless there's a unusual circumstance, like you said, where there's a known person who's in there, you don't have enough people to go in, is what you're saying.
Correct. The battalion chief and the pump operator, or the driver of that apparatus is not in that equation because they have a role they need to do so the incident doesn't go completely south because it happens very quickly when you lose control.
So that when the second truck gets there, then, then you have the resources, but you still have another truck operator who has to stay with the second truck and get that
Correct.
truck ready. So you have a couple people who are,
Yes.
understood, okay.
All right, so like I said, our metrics are improving with the staffing that was awarded by the SAFER grant in 2021. Now, this grant request is bridging that gap. This is accomplishing that 75% of the time that station in the south end of Southington is not protected by that fire station being staffed. So we will go into that. This is just I'm gonna give you a quick incident overview just to put some perspective to this. This was a fire from February on Savage Street.
Tony, right near you.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yep. So I was the incident commander for this, acting battalion chief. So we received reports of smoke coming from a house, all right? That's the only report that we had, arrived on scene, and that's what I was presented with. Fire blowing out of a second floor window with a vehicle in the driveway. So as incident commander, it's my job to ensure that we have the right amount of resources coming to the scene, to keep our people safe and then affect whatever operation we need to do. So this incident, the core tactical functions at this fire, this is another good shot of it. Incident command, fire suppression, so stretching a hose line into the building, putting the fire out. Water supply, pulling from a fire hydrant. The fire hydrant was 400 feet away, so that driver had to make that 400-foot hike to the hydrant and back. Search and rescue, that's searching for victims. We have a vehicle in the driveway, possibly occupied house. Nobody was showing from a window or a door or anything like that, so we have to search all floors methodically. Ventilation, this removes the fire gases and the smoke, typically done by cutting the roof or opening windows and letting the fire gases expel and assist with fire suppression, and it also prevents fire spread from getting it to additional floors or the attic. And then we have rapid intervention. That's the backup team for us, typically a crew of 3 firefighters that is outside, staged, ready to deploy if there is a Mayday situation. So those are the initial operations that myself as an incident commander needs to assign based on the resources that we have. So this incident occurred during the day, during the week. So we had 3 staff firehouses. Time of call was 11:42 a.m. Uh-oh. I broke it. I'll give it a second. It's overwhelmed. There we go. All right, so resources assigned. Car 4, that's myself, the incident commander. Truck 1, coming from fire headquarters, was assigned search and rescue. We have a vehicle in the driveway, high probability that there's someone trapped inside. So they're searching the fire floor. It's the highest hazard floor for a trapped resident, so that was the 2nd floor. So they're searching the fire floor ahead of any hose line. So they're taking the heat, they're taking the smoke, they're locating the fire while also searching for victims. Squad 5, which was assigned water supply, so they're laying hose from that hydrant and then stretching a hose line to the 2nd floor to put out the fire. Squad 1, which was staffed at the time, was assigned rapid intervention to accomplish that 2 in, 2 out and also provide us that rapid intervention team if a Mayday does occur. Those 4 fireground tasks were covered by SFD resources, all right? Why are we moving so slow here? additional resources. So when I requested a working fire protocol to be requested to dispatch, this gives us additional resources from mutual aid towns. So Meriden Engine 2, they were assigned ventilation when they arrived. They arrived within 15 minutes, I believe, because that's on the Meriden side of town, right off of Meriden Avenue. Bristol Engine 4 was assigned salvage and overhaul, and then we had 3 agencies come in for station coverage, and they responded to an additional incident. Now, those resources were all quickly released to their jurisdictions, returned from the scene, because we were able to handle this with majority of SFD resources. Now, curveballs that we can be presented, especially myself as an incident commander. So simultaneous incidents. If one of these pieces was already on an incident, that's 1 less truck and 3 less people that I have to respond. So some of those primary tasks aren't able to be completed simultaneously or ever at all. A firefighter mayday. So this incident almost turned into a firefighter mayday in front of my eyes when the engine company was stretching a hose line the front of the house. The house service electrical burned away from the fire and dropped right on the backs of the firefighters. And somebody was looking over us, but for some reason, no one got electrocuted. It arced off their backs and it flew away. So they were able to continue, but it was a near miss, almost lost the entire engine company that was stretching that initial hose line. So that's how fast things can go south and why we have to have additional resources coming in case something like that does happen. Curveball, victim trapped. The ladder company is searching the fire floor and they find a victim. A lot of resources are needed to pull a victim out of a house fire, especially if they're coming out of a window, an aerial truck. It's taking more resources away from those other tasks that need to be completed. Multi-floor extension, so that fire, it spreads to the attic, goes to the roof, and it continues traveling. So it's gonna require more resources unless the fires stop quickly, and fires are stopped quickly with adequate staffing and good response times. So the result of that fire, we had an efficient response with 3 staffed apparatus. 2 animals were rescued from the first floor, and the house was saved. It's salvageable. It's in the process of being rebuilt right now. So the system works that we have, that we designed with this 2022 SAFER grant. Now we need to let this program work 24/7, and that's where we're here today. So the solution to this is the SAFER grant program. So we're bridging the gap in emergency response. This enables us to hire career personnel to work towards meeting NFPA benchmarks. It targets staffing shortages during high-risk nighttime and weekend shifts where Station 3 is not staffed. And it directly addresses the improbability of reaching that 15 firefighter benchmark and makes it a 24/7 solution. And the result is a safer and more resilient community. So what is the SAFER program? So this is administered by FEMA. In 2003, it was established by Congress to address staffing shortages across the country. The current opportunity closes June 19th. This was a surprise to all fire service leaders, all the shutdowns and everything. All of a sudden, a week and a half ago, they said, here you go, the grant is now open with a 3-week time frame. So that's why we're here with you guys tonight. So it is due June 19th. Currently, there's $324 million available across 190 awards. And like I said, 2,100 typical on average applications for this. So it's a very competitive process.
Question.
Yes, sir.
In, let's say, last year, with the SAFER grant, or
Yep.
maybe a year prior, how long is the window typically open for?
The application period,
Yeah.
typically about a month.
Okay.
This was rushed because they have the money that has to be allocated by September 30th. And the process it takes to evaluate 2,100 applications through all the review processes is super time consuming. So they're really jamming it in that time period. So history of Southington and the SAFER program. So in 2021, we were awarded $1.2 million. This secured staff to staff Station 3 during critical daytime and weekday hours. This was when Company 3, the volunteer company, was still in existence. We still had membership there, and we had a stronger nighttime and weekend response. So we were addressing a daytime problem with the eventual knowing that this was going to be a nighttime and weekend issue. So this grant was awarded by the federal government. Like I said, it's been extremely successful. Increased shift staffing levels to a maximum of 10 and a minimum of 9. So the 2026 request is SAFER 12 firefighters. So this is a strategic expansion. It's increasing our line staffing, so the number of firefighters on fire trucks responding to incidents, from 32 to 44. It allows Station 3 to be staffed 24/7, and it establishes a sustainable 10 firefighter minimum shift beyond the daytime weekday hours. So all we're doing is extending what we're doing now, those evening and weekend times. We built this with operational health for the town and for the department. So the 11th position absorbs 8,736 hours of PTO-driven overtime, reduces forced overtime, callback frequency, and fatigue, and then improves retention and readiness. So just a breakdown of the investment. A 12 firefighter SAFER grant is based on a fully loaded salary, so entry-level firefighter plus the fringe benefits. So it's around $139,000 is one firefighter with the fringe benefits. So the 3-year total for this grant of town and federal funds is $5.3 million. And you can see I broke it down by year leading up to year 3, which is the last year of the grant. The cost shares are variable, so the first 2 years are 25%. The last year, year 3, is 65% town share. And then year 4 is the actual cost once absorbed into the town budget where that cost occurs. The federal funding covers 58% of the 3-year staffing expansion project. The feds would be forking over $3.1 million for this. And you may know on the left sides, the total cost of the firefighters is increasing. We have to equate for step raises. Unfortunately, this grant only covers entry-level salary, so we have to make up the difference on year 2 and 3 for those step raises.
Captain, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So let's just talk a little bit about logistics here.
Yep.
Because you're talking about years, and then I think the years span fiscal years for us. So let's say the SAFER grant comes in.
Yes.
You said September they're trying to disposition it by.
Yeah, typically awards around August to September, and by
Okay.
the 30th, it's awarded.
What is the target hiring date?
So target hiring date is February, and then a go-live date would be July 1st of 2027.
So the hiring date is February.
Yep.
Does the SAFER grant kick in February?
So we have a period of evaluation and planning. So as soon as we tell the feds we're ready to go, we start the firefighters and they start reimbursing the funds for the salaries.
Okay, so would you start the reimbursement in February, or would you start the reimbursement July 1? What's the?
We would probably have to start in February due to the fact we'd have to put some of those people through the recruit program. The goal is obviously to hire more laterals if we can. This makes it more attractive because it's a 24/72 schedule, which actually makes Southington more attractive for the fire service. We probably won't be able to get all 12 as laterals because I don't think there's that many that we can poach. But it does give us an opportunity to get some of the Hero to Hero program kids that have already gone through the fire academy, which are all military-based veterans, which would be phenomenal. Plus, there's a few others that are going to be self-paced trying to go through the recruit program. So that gives us an opportunity to perhaps save some funds in that direction and perhaps onboard them a little bit quicker and cleaner.
So just if I'm thinking about our budget cycle, I mean, hypothetically, you could be looking at 5 months, February to June of this upcoming budget cycle, which would, so 419 might be like 200 and change that we might need to cover the first, to cover our first budget cycle.
Correct.
And then from there, it's gonna go to, well, it's gonna be somewhere between year 1 and year 2, because we're gonna split the
It'll
year
end up being
again.
split, yes.
Right, so it's gonna be somewhere around, say, 475 in our next budget cycles. I understand. Okay.
Yep.
I wanted to just understand how that logistically would
Yeah,
work
we're
for
gonna
us.
try and make it work as best we can to align it with the fiscal year. But,
Yep.
again, timing of when training occurs, they only run the program twice a year, so.
Okay, thank you. Please, yeah, town manager?
Just quick, did you account for the significant lowering of CMERS of folks we hire on July 1st, 2027 in this
No,
calculation?
this is based off what we have currently, sir.
Okay, so if you hire anybody on July 1st, 27 who wasn't in CMERS in the past, the cost of the town for the benefit, the pension drops by over a third.
Okay. What does that translate into dollars, Alex, for one person? What do you,
So it's relative because right now, police and fire are at about a 26% on the dollar contribution. For the overtime aspect of it, that's where you save a lot of money. So starting July 1st, 27, only the base salary counts towards the pension, Anything over, any overtime or supplemental pay gets put into a 457B plan with I believe it's an 8% employee contribution and an 8% town contribution. It's like a 401K, and that's it. So you know what your MERS contributions will be for your base salaries. I'm trying to look it up quickly because I haven't looked at it in a while. But the town's contribution to police and fire also drops significantly to that base salary, as well as non-police and fire as well. So there's a huge cost savings by waiting until July 1st of
Tell us the number, though. You said 26% is what the town share is today?
Right now, correct.
And what's it gonna go to?
For overtime, it'll go to 8%. And I don't have a dollar for dollar for the base salary, but I know it drops significantly for the base salary as well.
Below 8% or above it?
No, right now it's at 26% for base salary.
Right.
That's gonna be dropping.
To roughly what?
I believe it's dropping by about a third.
Okay. So you could be going to like 16?
Yeah, we're not gonna be hiring anybody right before July 1st, 27, I'll tell you that, in the few months before. It's a game changer for the state of Connecticut.
Okay. Understood. Keep going.
All right, so we also looked at the impact on homeowners and taxpayers. So just looking at the projected mill rate increases by year. So year one and year two were similar, 0.06, 0.07. And then year three, where our 65% kicks in, up to 0.19. And then year four and beyond, 0.27 mils. And then just giving you the average cost for a taxpayer on a $300,000 home is around $83 for that full boat of the 12 firefighters on the town. And the SAFER grant is a phased funding structure, like that's by design, so it allows the town to have time to address that mill rate impact and make the plan for after year three, for year four.
Tony?
Are there any other cost savings here?
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that in a second.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll save the question.
Yeah, so staffing depth. So why did we look at 12 versus 8 or versus 3 like there was the request on the last SAFER round? So the 3 firefighter model, which was applied for in the fall, this only added one firefighter per shift, was incapable of staffing Station 3 24/7 with the staffing that we have now, and unfortunately does not fall in line with the NOFO, which is the Notice of Funding Opportunity from FEMA, for this grant cycle. So they will not award a grant if it's not leading to 24/7 staffing. That's what the priorities from FEMA, the FEMA administrator was, so that's what we have to fall in line with for our requests. So what about an 8 firefighter model? This gives us the absolute minimum staffing. So this allows us to staff Station 3 with our staffing that we have now and with the 8 firefighters, but there's zero buffer for that leave to cover those PTO hours. And there's immediate overtime required when somebody calls out. The 12 firefighter model, while at face value is significant, there's strategic staffing depth. So it makes our bench larger and controls overtime by absorbing that leave exposure of that roughly 8,700 hours of PTO time, which is around $500,000 depending on amount of time off and metrics such as that. This maintains consistent service while also gives operational health to the department and to the town. So the 12 firefighter model is the first option that provides the depth to manage financials. By hiring the 12 firefighters, the department staffs an 11th firefighter on duty each shift. This position covers one 24-hour vacancy if it occurs each day. And this could be vacation, sick leave, training, around 8,700 hours of PTO time annually. The outcome creates staffing depth, like I said, to cover one vacant position daily without overtime, but it's also greatly improving the reliability for response 24/7 at a Station 3 and then overall for the entire town. Operational benefits, immediate life safety response. So like I explained to you, that fire on Savage Street, we were able to accomplish those tasks with Southington units and a small amount of mutual aid units that were quickly returned. That is our goal for 24/7 staffing. This gives a minimum staffing level of 10 personnel to achieve all these critical functions on a fire ground. Nighttime risk profile. So we talked, there was a little bit of discussion about shifts, things like that nature. So the thing about nighttime is It's when the most fatal fires occur in residential buildings because people are sleeping, right? So between midnight and 1 a.m., it's the highest probability of a fire fatality based on actual statistics. And then the 8-hour period between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., 45% of all fatal house fires. So the risk at night is extremely great, and that's where we need that additional engine company that we have during the day now to address those calls, those fires, so it's a 24/7 response. Additional operational benefits, the chairman mentioned if we're on multiple calls. So this allows us to manage simultaneous incidents. So this is our current year-to-date rate, 2.5 incidents per 24-hour period that are at the same time. There's been probably 5 or 6 today alone, 245 to date. So the issue with the simultaneous incidents is when we have that staffing depth of 3 pieces staffed during the day, we're able to respond to 3 separate incidents, right? At nighttime, it limits us to 2, and that's if those are incidents requiring just 1 apparatus and 3 people on the scene. So for example, the other evening, we were at a respiratory arrest on Meriden-Waterbury Turnpike, both career units and the battalion chief, which the patient did make a positive outcome after that response. There was a motor vehicle rollover with extrication in front of the library with no available apparatus to respond. So the response to that was delayed. We had already started the volunteers when both of our units were tied up. However, there was a time delay and a manpower delay to get people on scene to cut this person out of the vehicle. So should we have the 3rd apparatus that was staffed, it would have left 1 available to be able to respond to that additional critical incident. Mutual aid impact. There's always a lot of talk about mutual aid. Current status, this is our average annual responses into town from mutual aid units, 130 responses. Our goal with this, with the 24/7 staffing model, having a consistent model, is reducing our reliance on mutual aid by 50%, and relying on Southington units and then using mutual aid units for backfill, and then those more less frequent incidents of 2nd or 3rd alarm or greater fires that required additional resources. Other operational benefits, so workforce growth. Speaking about the volunteers, we have 40% of our career force right now are all previous Southington volunteers. We have fostered this growth. We have basically like a farm team. We're able to train, we're able to make relationships with these volunteers and then hire them to work a 25-year career with us. So career advancement with this program, the discussion was to increase the percentage where a volunteer gets on our test, so it gives them an additional edge to get that job over, let's say, someone from another neighboring town. Career retention and consistent resources ensures safety, and it prevents departure due to staffing shortages. We've had around 4 career firefighters leave with main concerns about staffing shortages and operational issues. This continues volunteer integration. Nothing changes how we operate now with our volunteers. Like I said, we're doing this right now during the day, during the weekday. All it does is just extend it to a 24/7 period. Our volunteers are critical. They're here tonight, but they're all part of our operation, and that's how we get to that 15 firefighters on scene within that time period. So our project timeline, which we spoke about briefly, June 19th, this application is due. Looking at the summer months to garner congressional support like we were very successful with last time in 2021. September 30th, the awards are have to be issued by February 1st, talking about new hire appointments, and then July 1st as a go-live date. Obviously, these are flexible timelines other than the application date, but that's our basic plan for implementation. Just want to thank you guys for listening to me ramble on for however long it's been, but I appreciate the opportunity and appreciate Chief Lee and Commissioner Wilk for letting me speak on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, floor is open for questions. Chris?
A couple questions just based on your presentation. First of all, you recently mentioned the frequency of simultaneous incidents is 245. Can you elaborate a little bit more? Is that house fires? Like, what is in?
It's any incident. So this past month, we had 32 overlapping incidents ranging from, it was either 1 additional incident or it was up to 5 incidents or 7 incidents. So there's no predicting when that's going to happen and what units are going to be available. That's where the challenge comes in. And that's why we rely on mutual aid to help us with that when we're tied up at a larger event.
So can you give me an example of a recent time when there was multiple fires? You know, because the department does.
The focus isn't always just fire, though.
Right,
That's-
right.
that's
No,
what
I
the
know,
problem
that's why I'm trying to.
Yeah, the most
drill it
recent,
down a
what
little
was
bit.
actually the,
Aircraft road.
well, I'll give them more recent. So, the Chuck and Eddie's fire last week.
Yeah.
There was a commercial electrical fire in a structure on, Marion Avenue.
At the same time as.
Correct, that, New Britain and Plainville and Cheshire, handled that response.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was completely handled by mutual aid?
Correct.
That
No Southington units went to that incident except for the fire marshal's office.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also mentioned 11 PM to 7 AM is a time frame where it's most critical at this point. Do you have the amount of calls that the department goes out to and the time of day when those calls are received?
Absolutely, we do. And while the daytime is a busier period for us, it's interesting because it reflects commuting, it reflects people coming home from work, it reflects people going to bed. So our busiest time period is typically between 9 and 4 PM, but then it ramps up at 6 PM, ramps down around 11, and then there's significant critical incidents that occur between like the 2 to 4 AM hours, which are typically either a house fire
Right.
or a serious motor vehicle accident.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were awarded the 2021 SAFER grant, you used that data to determine those are
Absolutely.
the best hours to staff that station?
And that was based on the current level of volunteer staffing at that station, that we did not have a daytime response, and those were the metrics we used for that, showing that, hey, we have this large gap during the day of not having enough people to respond as far as volunteers, so that's why that was awarded. Ensuring them that we do have a reliable response at nighttime, because this was sold as a daytime issue. But we knew eventually, following the trends, it was gonna turn into eventually a 24/7 issue that would need to be addressed.
Okay.
And to that fact, that also gives us that edge on this application because we were so successful with the 2021 grant program to address the daytime need. And now we are finally bringing it home to the finish line to accomplish that 24/7 staffing, which FEMA helped get us the start and they can get us to the finish. So that's advantage for us.
Is there someone you're working with at DHS, FEMA in particular, I assume you, just because you're writing the grants?
Yeah, so we have a regional representative, and then there's also a help desk in Washington DC that you run questions off of. But mostly at this point, it's all just based on experience, being able to decipher what they want as far as grant priorities.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Dave?
What happens if we don't get this SAFER grant? We don't get the 12 firefighters. It's a pretty gloomy picture we're painting.
It is.
And when did this report come?
The gloominess of it is that I'm ultimately responsible for their lives and safety. So I'm pretty invested in this.
When we were developing this budget,
Dave, just speak into your microphone, please.
when we developed the budget we just voted on, how many firefighters were requested in that budget?
Three.
And that
this
was,
report existed at that time?
Been available the whole time.
Alex, did you see this report when you were going over the budget with?
This was just crafted for this tonight, sir, under
Oh,
the
just
direction of
for
the Board of
tonight.
Fire Commissioners. Well, not
there's
tonight, but-
multiple versions, more versions of this. I think the most recent was last year.
Last budget.
When the Board of Fire Commissioners came up with a plan and a committee to staff Station 3 24/7. And some of those suggestions were put down the line, but eventually it was that 3 firefighter for a grant. The town hired 1 firefighter, which we did hire to represent local investment, but unfortunately we didn't get the grant. So that was the starting point and then the roadmap forward. But like Chief Lee and Chairman Wilk alluded to, we don't know what the rest of these FEMA grants are gonna look like if they do exist. There's always been threats that this is gonna sundown, and we're always waiting for that money to be approved in Congress. But as you can see, the cost shares have dramatically increased from 100% in 2019. That's where we are today, fortunately.
Is this grant similar to the other ones, it's all or nothing?
Yeah,
In other words, if you ask for 12.
Correct.
The federal government's not gonna come back and say, we'll give you 6.
they, on a staffing grant, they won't because of the outcome that it's supposed to do. On an equipment grant, they can cut it down a little bit if it seems like maybe this isn't necessary. So the way the FEMA grants work as far as scoring, there's panelists. I've served on it before. It's panelists from all different parts of the industry, representing fire chiefs, firefighters unions. So they're reviewing these subjectively, scoring it, goes to technical review, which is the actual FEMA specialist. They look at the project, the cost, the financial need, all those metrics, and then they start awarding them based on that need, local need.
Josh, you got a question?
How many volunteers are, I'll say, like on your books? And of those volunteers, how many respond to incidents, I'll say, on a semi-regular basis? You know?
So we do have metrics in place for that, and I don't have those numbers in front of me. We have 31 members currently.
31?
31 between Company 1 and Company 2. I have 6 members that are on leaves of absence. I have 7 members that are probationary members, are not cleared to go into a building yet. So what I have left is what I have that can do interior firefighting. Of those, Monday through Friday days, most of them do work. Captain Badgley escapes from work quite often. Thank you.
Thank you.
Night times, we have a window now that's become quite prevalent, that between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m., I get a decent response. After 10 p.m., probably not. So I have the same dedicated people that I keep getting. So it's like 2 to 3 per station. So it makes it tough.
And to clarify on the per station, you only have volunteers at 1 and 2?
Company 1 and Company 2, yes, sir.
And at the Chuck and Eddie's fire, how many volunteers showed up?
We had 7. You had 3 on 21, or 4 on 21. Captain Rennie, you in service 1 and 3 on engine 12.
Okay. How did they go to Chuck and Eddie's?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
How
Yep.
long was the response time from, I'll say, like the tone out to them?
21 was 23 minutes, 12 was probably in the range of 19-ish? Ish.
So that was kind of best case scenario,
Yes.
weekday?
Yes, and because 21 was the last engine in, when the brush fire started down the street, we were able to free 21 up to go handle that. But Meriden started having problems in their own city, so they had to leave as well.
And again, that was best case scenario.
Best
happening
case
there.
scenario, yes, sir. And it was a very flashy fire. Thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Appreciate it. But my question isn't really about the presentation itself. It's about a far bigger issue, which is what's changed. And by that I mean we've had a way of dealing with the fire department over the last several years, at least the time I've been on the Board of Finance and this body, which is an incremental improvement every year. And every so often we go for the SAFER grant, as you mentioned. We make investments every year in the fire department. The last 5 years, it's been we've given it the second most increase of any department, second only to the Board of Ed, which takes a lot of our dollars. But it's far more than the police, because we understand the importance. Now, what happened with the SAFER grant that we all, I think it was unanimous vote to go for it last year, when it fell through, it means that we hadn't got the ability to take some of that funding away. So all of that funding would go on the town. And that was, as far as I can see, that was a bridge too far because we were going into a time when we don't have the money. I mean, let's be real here, okay? The Board of Finance spent a lot of time. They took out $5 million out of the budget requests. And on this board, we took out several million too. And those things weren't easy to do. I mean, we laid people off who've been working in this town for quite a while. Okay, we cut the capital spending down to 0. Obviously we cut the Board of Ed very significantly. Their increases, not their actual budget, obviously. So that's the situation we're in. Now, that situation was noticeable to us because the revaluation had pushed a lot of the tax burden down to those who could least afford it, okay? Not everybody, but that was a significant part. So, we had an immediate, thing to deal with. But going into next year, we still have the same problem that we have today, which is the grand list isn't growing. okay? And it hasn't been growing as much as we want for the last several years. Now, we've got some things in the hopper to change that, but they haven't happened yet. So we're looking at a year that I believe, I mean, people can contradict me if they want, but will be as significant a cost problem as this year was. And what, and what we're doing is, you've said we turned down the extra 3.5. I know you asked for it, and this body turned it down, right? In a sense, we put it out for a vote, and we said no. So that's already happened, and now, 4 weeks later, we have a proposal. It's a very good one, by the way, thanks. But it says hire 12 firefighters. That will increase your department by 33% as an operational budget. It will starve, as you go forward, it will starve other departments of funding because we're all, all the other major departments, and by those I mean the schools, the police, you, highway parks, the major ones that are real engines of our budget. It will starve them of resources. And that's what I'm really worried about. If we go too far down the road with this, we're going to cripple ourselves elsewhere, okay? And so I'm wondering, what's changed? Why have we gone from, okay, we're all being told to, draw our horns in, to let's hire 12 people, okay? It doesn't make sense to me. What does make sense to me is if we push this discussion off at least another year and have that discussion then, okay? Because I can't see any scenario in which this makes sense with our current budget situation, okay? It might make sense in the future, okay, no issue with that. But it doesn't make sense now. And what are we going to tell? We've got contract negotiations coming up. And we've told people, we don't have the money, okay? And now we're saying, oh, well, anybody coming up for a contract in the next year or so is going to say, oh, you've got the money to hire 12 firefighters. See, these things do have, they do have problems with the rest of the town. And I don't want, to say that, saying, single you guys out, because I thought this was a good presentation. But I'm just saying the reality of what we're faced with is, is not a pretty one. It will change down the road, and we'll go back to the way we were, funding things before. But for now, and that's probably another year, I don't see this flying. I really don't. Okay.
Vice Chair?
One of the larger items has been that the FEMA SAFER grant has been scheduled to be sunset for quite some time. The way the federal government is operating now, I don't foresee this grant being around next year. This is an opportunity for the town to capitalize on the possibility of saving a very large sum of money for an issue that we've been having for many, many years that keeps getting pushed down the road. Adding a person here and there doesn't really help our cause. You spoke of us getting $2.35 million in equipment. 1.8 of that was ARPA funds for our ladder truck. So that came out of federal pockets as well.
Right.
So it's not that we're not appreciative or thankful, because we truly are. Our concern is our community. We want to keep them safe and give them the best opportunity for survival.
No, I understand. That's why I didn't want to get into the discussion of that. I'm just saying, here's the reality. Right?
Yes, sir.
That's all.
Okay, Vice Chair?
I have a question. I want to go to this figure of 8,736 hours of PTO-driven overtime. So that, I'm no mathematician. That sounds like a lot of money to me that would be saved, okay? Is that included in your calculation for?
No, it's not. That calculation is just related to the grant itself. Those are the realized savings annually by absorbing those four, that 11th position on shift that's absorbing the 8,700 and change
So
hours
the
per year.
impact could be less.
The impact,
The cost could be less than you're flashing for impact on homeowners and taxpayers.
absolutely,
Yeah,
100%.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's-
because obviously hiring 12 firefighters, you're increasing the number of people, the amount of exposure, the amount of time off. But the way we built it was with guardrails to try to control that cost. And
Right.
this does very effectively.
and so I do want to point that out because that's another topic that we've talked about is overtime. I think that's a really critical number to point out because again, It sounds like a lot of money to me. That would be like hundreds of thousands of dollars is what it sounds like to me. Thank you.
Chris?
Just to follow up with what Jen's doing. So looking at the cost for year one, 419,000. Just follow me for a minute. If we hypothetically maybe say, let's reduce that to 6 for the grant, which cuts that in half. So now we're, $210,000. With the, as Paul pointed out, the delay and the staggered approach for when you would bring the person in, it really wouldn't be that much in a fiscal year because there's delayed hiring by the time you get the grant. You're not starting July 1st, which is the beginning of the fiscal year. So with potential savings in overtime, if we bring in, again, let's just say hypothetically, 6 officers, could you find that savings within the department's budget to fund this? Because, Alex, I'll look to you. I don't know where we're going to find after what we just did, because I want to support the fire department. I just don't know where we're going to find the amount of money needed with the lean budget that we just passed. So, again, I'm wondering if we reduce overtime by bringing these people in, and I know they've got to go to training, so maybe you even save only 4 months next the July 1st fiscal year. Do you think there's savings in your department to cover the cost associated with applying for the grant?
I would have to look further into that and see what the numbers are actually going to come out to. By staggering those hirings until after February, it does provide the possibility, but
Okay.
I can't swear to that,
Okay.
not without doing a deep dive.
I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm trying to find how can we fund this within the budget, because we did just vote on a budget. I don't know where we're going to get money now, a month after the budget was voted on. But within your department, if there's a way to realize the savings that you need and ultimately save the town, but more importantly, increase the manpower you need in the department. It could be.
And that's why I want to do a
benefit.
deeper dive in it, because $100,000 was removed out of our overtime line as well. So I need to make sure I'm very thorough on that and accurate.
Okay. So I guess I turn to you, Paul, because now the next delay is we don't have another meeting before this deadline. So I think what I just asked is critical information for us to make a decision, but we don't meet again until after that. I don't know if there's a way to have another meeting and.
Yeah, there's a couple this is just my perspective. There's, we of course could have a special meeting later this week or early next week. I'm sure you could, in parallel, work on putting together, the grant application in parallel and with the hopes that something will happen. A couple things. First of all, I believe that there's two things that needs to happen. What I'm hearing tonight is they're requesting the approval to apply for the SAFER grant. Then there's the hiring that comes after that. So there's an opportunity for, what I was thinking was, if the council is amenable, we would be looking at some sort of a go forward on the application. And just because you apply also doesn't mean you have to hire. So we could apply and then not hire if we can't find it. I would offer that, we as a council could send this to the Board of Finance and say, hey, we approved the application, and we asked the Board of Finance to look for ways to fund it, right? That's one option. I do believe that there's opportunities for the council and the Board of Finance to work together to look for things. I know that, we probably will carry over a little more than $1 million this year. Some of that will go to capital, and there's things that we're going to have to use that for. But we probably could find $100,000 in carryover. We have $1 million in contingency next year. So we could also probably float that with contingency plus a little bit of cost savings maybe that the chief can find. You're only talking a couple $100,000 that's needed for this current upcoming budget cycle. So the fact that we have carryover coming, the fact that we have $1 million in contingency that, we could pull if we needed to next year. Of course, we wouldn't need to make that decision until next year. And honestly, I don't like to say it, but there are other funds. We could move money around from one to another. We have a hiring that we need to do that comes up. We could always postpone a hiring a few months as a council and say, hey, we're going to hold on hiring a position for a few months so that we can get another $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. Those, will come eventually. So I think the council here has to decide, you know, is this important for the community and for the safety? I believe there's mechanisms that we can get it done personally. I think it's, you know, a little collaboration between the boards, and I think we can find the funds to do it. You know, we have money in our excess rainy day fund. We don't have a whole lot, but if you needed $10, $20, $50,000, you probably could do that. But like I said, we have carryover also coming. So I personally believe that there's a mechanism to do it, to get them in the February, March timeframe and make something happen.
One more point. So during the budget meeting, when we discussed hiring the 3 firefighters, you did specifically say you wanted to look into more of why we didn't get the grant. And he's telling you why we didn't. And he's also telling us the reason he's flashing the 12 is because that gets them to the 24. That's why. So I don't feel like reducing this is responsible if we're trying to go and get this grant, because they're sitting up here telling us, this is why, this is our plan, and this is how we need to move forward to be successful.
Okay, so when we spoke about that, we were talking about 3 firefighters for the SAFER grant. Now we're up to 12 firefighters. So again, that's why I'm trying to be responsible with where the funds are coming from, try to support the department, give you what you need, and potentially within your own budget, try to find the funds needed to apply for the grant safely.
I think, Chris, you know, like, if we said, hey, you know, we want to do this because the safety of the community is important and it gives us 24/7 coverage at three firehouses, we could approve the application of the SAFER grant with a recommendation to Board of Finance. Take the next month to bat around with Board of Finance the potential mechanisms that could do that. You can always pull your application between now and September or August if you wanted to, but I think we could get the ball rolling. And I think we could work with the Board of Finance and come up with 3 or 4 different scenarios and then decide, you know, which one of those makes the most sense.
I guess just to respond, I don't think it's unreasonable to, again, we were talking 3. I suggested maybe 6, I don't know, which is half of the amount requested here, and it's somewhat of a compromise between the two, and yet being a little bit more fiscally responsible. And I also don't feel comfortable voting on a decision that I don't know all the answers to, because I do think it has a lot of implication and ramifications moving forward. And it isn't just next year. Even if you take and delay hirings, the year after, they're going to be a full year of that position in the budget. So we're going to have to think ahead. It can't just be a short term, oh, we can take from contingency, we can delay hirings. That helps in one short period of time in a fiscal year, and it does not help in the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think this is really, the decision that's before us is really a strategic decision. Are we making a strategic investment over and building a budget over the next 3 to 4 years and building an investment for emergency services and safety in the community? I agree with you, Chris. It's definitely investment. This is, and you know, I mean, hey, you could also put it in perspective, 1.6 million, that's, I don't know, Dave, you're smarter than me with the numbers. It could be what? It's roughly 1% of our budget, maybe 0.8% of our budget, 1.6 million that we're talking about here. What are we, like 180 million? Yeah, less than 8. Yeah. So, yeah. You know, and I know you had mentioned a little bit earlier, Dave, you know, when was this report available? I mean, I got on the council in 2019, and I remember Chief Paul came and talked to us, and he said, you know, we need to get ourselves 20-some, 30-some firefighters, and we have to start the journey. And that's when we started the investment with a couple SAFER grants. And then, as the captain mentioned, you know, we hired one last year. Our goal was really to work towards getting 24. I mean, we made the commitment to open 3 and 5 back in the late teens with the intent that we were going to try to get them 24/7 at some point in the future. And I guess, you know, we've really worked hard to find more volunteers. And it's, you know, it's a fact of life. I mean, 2 parents working in a household, it's hard to get volunteers to, I mean, we know we're working, it's hard to come out here on a scheduled event, not let alone an unscheduled event. So I think there's going to come a time in our community where we're going to have to acknowledge that we're going to have to make continued investment in career firefighters. And at the same time, in parallel, we're going to have to make continued investment to find more volunteers as well. But I can tell you that the efforts, there's a fire commissioner sitting here who's been working on the recruitment and retention. They're trying hard. It's just not easy. And so, yeah, so that's what's before us.
Can I ask a
Josh,
question?
sorry, go ahead.
Josh
Kristen.
can go, and then I'll go.
We're talking, let's say, $200,000 for year one. We just gave a $5 to $6 million increase to Board of Ed. I think, and we continuously give increases to Board of Ed. And I understand the contract aspect behind it. We just went through the whole budget. Even the total share for the 12 firefighters, we'll round up to 1.9 using your numbers here, is a third of what we just increased Board of Ed this year alone. I think investing in the firefighters is the right thing to do, fire department.
Kristen, please.
So if we go through and we approve, the board approves this, to go through with the SAFER grant for the 12 firefighters, and if we did as you suggest, say we are awarded this grant, and we don't abide by what we went for, what happens if that negates the whole grant and then we lose it?
Yeah, maybe to the captain.
All that work
If
for
we
nothing.
couldn't find the money somehow, what would, we couldn't hire if we got approved for the SAFER grant,
Yep.
but then we just couldn't do it. Well, what's your perception on that?
You just review, they refuse the grant, and it goes to somebody else. Yeah.
Next in line.
Yeah.
And
It's
then-
happened, it's happened before historically, I don't remember, it was before my time, but a grant was applied and awarded, and they decided not to take it. So it went to, Branford got it. Yeah.
And then, so say we are awarded this grant, does the payout from the town start on February 1st, or can it be delayed to July 1st to the next?
So it's
Budget
it's when collectively we decide when to start this project. There's a lot of flexibility in it. If we were to delay it, we just talk with FEMA and come up with a plan of when exactly it's gonna be implemented. There is eventually, it has to be spent by this time period, but they're really flexible extensions because they understand the dynamics that go into this, especially right before a new fiscal year. So that's a really flexible aspect of it.
So then, town manager, this is something that if it was approved, could be possibly delayed till the next budget cycle? I mean, if there's
The
no
hiring you're
money-
talking about?
I defer to the fire, I'm not sure of the mechanics of the grant. I think the captain said it could.
Yeah, it could be pushed past July 1st, 27, but further than that, it's.
So just to be clear, though, are you talking about, because there's two things I think here, Kristen, that we have to flush out a little more. There's the hiring aspect where we're going to have to start paying salary and we're going to have to start paying when the day that they start. So there's that aspect. I know the captain was talking about when would we actually tell FEMA that we could start to collect money from FEMA and get that money back. So let's clarify that, Captain. Number one, it sounds, do I understand you correctly that we can certainly delay the request to FEMA to get money back?
Yeah, we
You know,
dictate
a little
when
bit.
the start date is, and that start date is when FEMA starts depositing the funds into the account, which the town manager probably has a little more clarity on, and then it gets reimbursed.
And does that start date have to equal the start date that we hire the person?
It's when we start them on the clock, when they start working their 42-hour work week. We can make offers, right? And then have a delayed start date, and that's when they start getting paid, when they start working for the town.
So if we hire, let's say we hire and they become an employee on February 1st,
Yep.
is that the date that we would tell FEMA to also start the reimbursement?
Nope, it's just when they start. That's when they start getting a paycheck. When they start getting a paycheck is when we tell FEMA, all right, we're good to go. So just because they were hired on February 1st doesn't mean that they actually started working.
So you can have a higher date of February, but actually have them onboarded and start collecting a check in May?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or even
Interesting.
July?
yeah.
Yep.
So or July, right? So we could apply for the SAFER grant now, and you bring them in April, May, and you say, hey, your first day is July 1.
Yeah, exactly.
You could do that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then that would be in line with what you were saying with the whole pension
I'd highly recommend not hiring if we're getting closer to that July 1, 27 deadline. Just hold off as long as we can.
I'm gonna,
It'll pay dividends for decades.
I'm gonna give you, like, I did a quick back of the napkin calculation on that, Alex, when you said that. If we use your numbers, current overtime is roughly 600,000, 650. If the overtime, you were talking about 12 people, that's roughly 1/3 of what we have today. So even if it added 200,000 in overtime, which I know you're saying it's not going to, we would be reducing from 26% to 8%. So I estimate, 26% is roughly $50,000 with the current math. That would go down to 16,000. So somewhere around $30,000 in savings for the overtime.
For eternity.
Right, $30,000 a year, right? Then on the salaries you had mentioned, it's probably going to save 8% on the salaries, roughly. Order of magnitude, 1/3 of the 26.
They set the rates annually, so they'll set that 27 rates around a year from today.
Right. So I'm estimating you're looking at another 60,000. Overall, it's about 90 to 100,000 annually between overtime and salary that we're talking about.
And then every year, it exponentially grows as you have
Right.
the legacy employees
Correct.
moving on and more employees coming in.
Correct.
And then, just on our side, the numbers are amendable, so like if that change just happened, like confirmed numbers happen, we're able to go back to FEMA and be like, no, the fringe plus the salary is actually this number, and then they reduce the numbers to what they actually are. So
Yep.
we have that flexibility to work with FEMA, which we have before.
Awesome, good questions, thanks. Yes, Mike?
So, I'm gonna support this. 7 years ago, this council we asked the fire department to do a study. And one of our colleagues begged us not to do it because they were very afraid of what the answer was going to be back from the study. And he was right. It came back and said we are around 20 firefighters short. And over the past 6 years, we hired, I think, 5 firefighters. So here we are 7 years later, we're still haven't hired the 20 that the study asked for. And even with these 12, we're still not at the 20. And respectfully, Dave, I know you served before in a town council and you were off for a little bit and you're back, but we've seen reports like this at least every couple of years that come through. This is what we need, this is what we're short, this is what we need to walk into a building. I don't love the shift. I don't love the 24/72. Respectfully, again, Chief, that's not work-life balance to me. That's, work-life balance. I don't know anyone but a firefighter that works one day and then has 3 days off. So I don't love the shift, and I don't know how mathematically, if we, from going forward, allowing anyone that already has that shift should be able to remain on that shift. But going forward, I thought it would be a good idea to get people in here working a regular 8-hour shift. And if you hired all the 12 new people, I know a lot of them will say they don't want the job, and you may have an opportunity to hire already a firefighter that's already has their licensing and all that. And I know you may run into problems about finding candidates to work that shift. But I know when I was 21, 22 years old and I wanted a job, I would have worked any time of the day, any hour of the day, especially firefighters, because you guys, it's inborn in you. I mean, every firefighter is so passionate about what they do. So that aside, I'm still going to support what you're asking for because I said it last meeting or at the budget meeting, and I'll say it again tonight. We have these circumstances that keep coming up, and I feel as though we keep escaping them, luckily. And I don't want to be sitting up here eventually if something goes down without supporting the need for these additional firefighters to be there when they're needed. I don't love what the mayor of Bristol said, because I think it goes back and forth, but I'll leave that aside as well. But I think this is the least that we can do to ensure the safety of the current firefighters, and instead of going at it as 1,000 little cuts over the past 7 years, I say we just do one shebang, get as many firefighters as we can with the help of this grant. Hopefully we get it. And then we don't have to think about it for the next few years. It could be off our plate for a little while. So that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, just the conversation the last 20 minutes worried me, in the sense that we're talking about, on the fly, how we're going to think about affording this. You know, usually that happens, you know, very close to the decision point. I've been a business executive, run large businesses most of my life. Never ever done that. Okay, usually it's the other way around, but I'll leave that aside. Maybe we're different, you know. But the thing is, we have, this town has recently just gone through a process of affording, of, you know, strategizing, developing, and showing how we can afford a large multi-million-dollar project, which is, you know, the schools. And we pushed that off to a time when we could afford it. You know, it came up, you know, obviously several years ago, but we pushed it off to a time when our bonding was going down, and we pushed it off to a time when our bonding was such that the bonding for the schools would have added to that, and we'd been paying exactly what we were paying. In other words, we structured a project to fund, okay? What I see here is we're saying it's a good idea, it's a great idea, it gets us going, and we'll work out how we fund it as we go forward. And we don't sort of really understand, and I don't think we do, the repercussions on the town and other departments. And I think that's the wrong way to go about things.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Let's try to continue the discussion. Just final questions, because we can debate this in the old business.
That's my last.
Yeah, okay. Any more questions, Chris, on
Yeah,
the proposal? Yeah.
I guess.
Because we're going to take it up again, obviously, later.
Right. So it's just, again, getting back to, do we delay it to July 1st? I just, to vote on something, I think it's important to know where the source of funding is coming from. I don't think we have, even if it is only $100,000, I don't know where, operationally, I don't want to look at the rainy, I know you mentioned the undesignated fund balance, and I don't want to look at contingency or the undesignated fund balance, because I want to make sure that it's a sustainable cost. So do we need that information to vote? Do we factor that in a motion of, you know, depending on where the money can be found within the department, which will trigger when the hiring occurs? Maybe it is July 1st, so that there is time in the next fiscal budget to prepare it. I don't know. So again, we can talk about that a little bit later.
Let's talk about that a little later, yeah. I mean, Kristen, you brought up a good point. I mean, if it means, you know, they apply for the grant and there's a delayed hiring, if that's what's going to make everybody comfortable, let's talk. Let's talk later. Okay.
And then can I just piggyback off what Mike said about their work schedule? The 2472? So is there a way to make it a stipulation where it becomes an 8-hour position? And the only reason why is it just makes more consistent staffing. If you have a call out and someone's sick or has a family emergency and they're out for a 24-hour shift, that's a lot for someone to cover in overtime, especially if they've just come off a 24-hour shift. And now they're potentially working a 48-hour shift. And if they've had some of these busy shifts that you guys have, right, where you're at Chuck and Eddie's, or you're dealing with these extrications, or you're on the highway.
Our overtimes are capped at 38 hours. So they can't work more than 38 hours straight in the firehouse, and then they have to go home.
Where
So
does the
it's
other person
operating
come in to-
exactly the same as we do now, so it's no different.
Where does the person come in to cover that other 10 hours?
It's one of the people that's off.
They come in and just pick it up? Yeah. So would that be something we'd be able to stipulate in the hiring?
Well, I think that
That's contractual.
that's something, yeah, that's something I think that the Fire Commission and the Board of Finance probably have to,
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying.
yeah, sure. Okay, Dave, just question, yeah, not a debate, right? Okay.
Hypothetically, if I had asked you to write this report 6 years ago, how much would the statistics have changed? Or would it look exactly like it does today?
6 years ago?
Yeah.
No, because it'd be a 24/7 issue, because we didn't have the SAFER grant that staff Station 3 during the day, during the week.
So we did
right?
make some improvement.
We did, which absolutely, we have positive metrics here, for sure. All right, yeah.
I guess my point was, perhaps if we had hired a couple of firefighters each year over the last 6 years,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be having this discussion.
100%.
Thank you.
And I think it shows the investment that we've made over the last 6 years is working. So I guess it's a positive data point that says this investment will probably continue to, bear some fruit. Okay.
We've turned down safer grants, by the way.
Yeah, we can, of course. All right, we still have to keep going with the chief, though. Item D, chief, assistant fire chief hiring. We're still in town manager's report, so we're going to let the chief and the,
That's actually going to be Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me one second.
Might
Chairman
have had
Wilk,
too much
thank
time to warm up my vocal cords, but first, let me just, if I may add, on the last item, really appreciate the time. I mean, look what time it is, right? Last thing we want to do is keep folks here, but
It's important.
obviously we feel strongly about it, right? So believe me, we really do appreciate it. And this is all we really wanted. It's not all we wanted. One of the big things we wanted to achieve was this kind of discussion and back and forth and things. So we're grateful for it. Thank you. As chairman of the Board of Fire Commissioners, I believe it's important to acknowledge the significant impact that the elimination of the executive assistant position and the delay in hiring the assistant chief have had on the Southington Fire Department. These actions removed two critical positions that provided administrative support, organizational continuity, and executive leadership. While budget decisions are never easy, it's important to recognize that the responsibilities associated with these positions did not disappear. Instead, they've been redistributed among personnel who already carry substantial operational and administrative workloads. The executive assistant served as the department's primary administrative resource, supporting payroll, personnel records, purchasing, budgeting, public records requests, board operations, hiring processes, and numerous other functions essential to the day-to-day operation of the department. The assistant chief position provides oversight of regulatory compliance, fire prevention, personnel development, strategic initiatives, and many of the projects necessary to maintain a modern and effective fire department. There's often an assumption that responsibilities can simply be absorbed by existing staff or shared among departments. In practice, this is rarely efficient. Specialized duties require training, experience, and institutional knowledge. The time required for others to learn and perform these functions often exceeds the time and resources that would have been necessary to maintain the positions in the first place. The result is delayed projects, reduced efficiency, increased administrative burdens, and the potential for compliance and operational risks. The fire chief and the remaining staff have worked diligently to maintain service levels and continue moving the department forward despite these challenges. However, we must recognize that they are being asked to meet the same expectations for service delivery, regulatory compliance, planning, budgeting, personnel management, and community safety with fewer resources available to accomplish those tasks. The board's responsibility is to ensure that the department has the resources necessary to protect our community effectively and safely. While we remain committed to fiscal responsibility, we must also acknowledge when reductions in staffing create unintended consequences that affect the department's ability to operate at its highest level. The impacts of eliminating the executive assistant position and delaying the hiring of the assistant chief are real and ongoing. As we move forward, I believe it's important that we carefully evaluate these impacts and consider what resources are necessary to support the fire chief, the department, and ultimately the residents of Southington. Our specific request as it relates to the assistant chief is to pull forward a hiring date of September 30th to allow posting, recruiting, notifications, discussion, etc. We're asking the town council to approve the fire department working with the Board of Finance to find possibilities for the funding, and at the same time, we'd ask for the town council to collaborate on this process. And if you don't have any questions, I'd like to invite the chief.
I'm sorry, Jim, what was that date?
September 30.
September 30th of what? Sorry.
Oh,
Of 2027 or 26?
September 30 of this year, 26. Yeah, thank you.
It's currently, I think it's budgeted for an 8-month delay, right? So you're talking about pulling forward 5 months. Understood, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, chief?
You kind of stole my thunder, sir.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's quite okay. It's very challenging at this point. Trying to comply with OSHA requirements, NFPA standards, work safety initiatives, documentation, injury, accident, and near-miss investigations, quality assurance of training programs and records. That's falling on my lap. Fire prevention and community risk reduction. The assistant chief has oversight of the inspections and plan reviews, which generates money for the town. Fire investigations and code enforcement activities, that's usually shared between the two administrative positions of the chief and the assistant chief, carried by me. Public education, community outreach programs, we have oversight on that and help develop those. That all falls on me. Coordination and develop with developers, businesses, and community stakeholders, usually a shared responsibility between the chief and the assistant chief, falls on me. Personnel management, employee evaluations, performance management, labor and management coordination, policy implementation, review and development, as well as officer development and succession planning. I don't have that. Strategic planning and special projects, grant development. Thank God for Captain Coleman, otherwise I'd be dead in the water. Fleet and equipment management. I managed to go to Watertown today to pick up a part for a fire truck. Later on that day, I had to drive the fire truck to Bristol to get it repaired. That falls on me. Technology initiatives and system implementation. We're trying to develop RMS to get better data for you guys so you can make educated, informed decisions. I don't have time to develop it. I don't have the people to develop it. Long-range staffing and deployment analysis. What I have is what I shared with you tonight. I can't build anything else out. I don't have the people for it. So, for lack of better terms, I need some help. I haven't had a day off since October. And I don't want you to feel bad for me because I absolutely love what I do. I truly do. But I'm sending emails at 3 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night, 7 in the morning. I'm working nonstop. My dining room is now my other office. I need a little help. That's all I'm asking for. The executive assistant takes care of so many different things. She's the main focal point for when we onboard a volunteer. She schedules when they come in. She schedules their physicals, their background investigations. She handles most of the HR portion for our volunteers. Not happening. So if we want to maintain strong volunteers, we have to have somebody that's going to be willing to talk to them and get them started. Yeah. Do you have questions for me?
Questions on the assistant fire chief topic? No questions? Okay. So, Chief, you all set? So, Chief, can you go on to item E, Emergency Services Administrative Collaboration? You talked a little bit about it
I
already.
touched on it briefly.
Yep.
I'm not opposed to the concept of collaboration. The difference is that on the police department side, they have a different world. The fire department side has a different world. Our records management softwares are completely different. The tasks are completely different. The only similarities are entering requisitions and to get purchase orders, and some of those items are the same. Getting our detailed information out of our program so we can apply for the limited access highway funds for revenue, that happens through our records management software. So by the time I teach somebody how to do it, I can just do it myself. It'd be a little bit quicker. Again, looking for help.
Kristen.
So moving forward, it's a possible loss of revenue.
Can I ask a question going back to D?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So the Board of Finance, they put forward a 9-month delay, right?
I believe it was always 8.
I think it was 8 months.
Yeah.
Do you have the funds within your department to be able to?
Again, I still have to go digging for them and see what I can find. There's a lot of variables to it between the grant and this. I would prefer to have the people on the ground rather than the assistant chief. I could stave that off a little bit longer. You didn't hear me say that publicly, but you heard me say it publicly. I need people to protect people, so that's the most important thing. And then I need somebody to help wrangle the people.
Now, I'm not a firefighter and I don't pretend to be, but is it some items that you can maybe delegate to some of the others?
The hardest part of that is now I'm asking people that are in a labor organization to do management type of work. So it's not fair to them. It puts them in a bad position. It's tough enough when a superior has to write up in a line firefighter because they did something incorrectly. That's crossing the line. But
I meant like other tasks that might not be of sensitive nature.
such as?
I have no idea, I'm not a firefighter.
So operational readiness, that is completely within their wheelhouse, and they're exceptional at it. They train, they're always ready to go, the apparatus is ready to go. They are doing everything they're supposed to do and trying to help with more. Downfall is there's only so much they have access to and can do, or should be permitted to do. It's not fair to them to put them in that position. I don't want them having to try and create a budget. That wouldn't be right.
Or designate like a point person for the volunteers,
Costs money,
to designate one of your firefighters to.
because if they're off duty. So I have very good volunteer captains that can manage that, but before those volunteers come in, they have to start somewhere, and that's where they start, is at the administrative level.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
Chris?
Chief, you mentioned there's 2 areas that do overlap with the police department. Is there any way you can capitalize on those 2 areas to take some of the burden off
Sure.
in those 2 areas?
Yes, and Chief Daly and I have talked about that as the town manager and I.
When you were talking about the administrative duty,
Yeah,
not the
administrative
assistant fire chief.
No, no,
Right,
no,
right, okay.
administrative assistant, because he's talking about both.
Yes.
But I understand, I heard you loud and clear, there's areas that are separate
Mm-hmm.
and distinct. But there are areas that there is overlap, and I'm just wondering if we can capitalize on some of the staffing at the police department to help the fire department out.
That's a good point, Chris. And, I know that you've begun the discussions, but maybe for the town manager, is that something that you'd be willing to maybe workshop with the chief a little bit, talk a little bit about that? Maybe there's administrative support from PD or from your, one of the other departments. Maybe there's IT, maybe Mitch can look into if there's things that he can help with, or finance. Would you be willing to, and I know there's action later on, and the action is really the collaboration, but would you be willing to have that discussion and maybe come back and let the fire commission know and let the town council know, what you guys came up with?
Yeah, absolutely. The fire chief, the police chief, and myself sat down 2 weeks ago. We drank way too much coffee.
No such thing, sir.
and came up with a couple ideas, but we're happy to sit down again and come up with some more concrete proposals. We'll bring the finance director with us as well. She's been very accommodative to kind of take over a lot of those mundane. She's automating a lot of stuff, so maybe some of that stuff can be pulled in and automated at her level.
Yeah. I know we've made some advancements with the IT department, and that team is a whiz, they're whizzes. So, maybe there's things that they can also do to make people's lives easier. Okay. Thanks, Chris. All right, so let's move on. Okay, Chief, we're gonna
Very
go,
good.
we're
Thank
gonna
you.
revisit this in old business, right after the public communications.
Very
So
good.
give us a
Thank you.
few. Item F, 682 Curtis Street Preliminary Roadway Construction Cost Estimate Memorandum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Get this so everybody can hear me, get a lot of complaints from my dad. The preliminary cost estimates came through from the engineering department at around $450,000 for that project that we talked about in the last meeting. That includes a 20% contingency for the project. As you know, it's approximately a $500,000 steep grant with a 20% cost share. We did reach out to the requester, the applicant. He, at this time, is not willing to share in that cost share. So that was the report back that you were asking for, and that's my report back I'm giving you.
Understood. Any questions for the town manager? Chris?
Yes, I'm just curious where the Economic Development Coordinator stands on this project, knowing that the developer is not willing to fund, split the cost share with
Mr.
us.
Perillo's speaking with somebody else who's looking to come into town with a very large project who would be, he's having discussions about a cost share to do a different project at this time.
Okay, so
I don't want to
potentially-
talk about, it's kind of a
No.
very preliminary
But
conversation.
potentially there is another
Anything we
project
can
that-
do to keep the cost share, because we don't have, I don't have a place to pull it from.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else? Okay. Item G, tax rate bill.
Just administrative. So Connecticut General Statute requires every member of the town council. So Jim, if you're still there, I'm not sure if you're still there, but if you're still there, everybody actually has to sign it. I've got a piece of paper and I'm gonna send it around to all of you. Please just sign it. As you know, the Board of Finance sets the mill rate, but you do have to put that into law as an ordinance. So I'm gonna pass that around. And Mr. Morelli, I'll get that over to you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll connect with you, Alex.
Thank
We'll
you, Mr.
sign-
Morelli. You're still there.
Thank you. We will sign this and send it along, and then we'll leave it in the town manager's office. We'll move on to item H, Connecticut General Statutes, Section 12-145 Interest Waiver.
So a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. As you know, we've been going through and auditing almost every department. We have a new assessor who started late last year, and she's gone through and audited all the town's tax abatements that have, in the last 10 years. And what she found out that a few of the tax abatements that should have expired were never taken off the books and were rolled forward inadvertently. So we are by law going back and to collect 3 years of back taxes from 2002, the grand lists of 2022, 2023, and 2024. The full principal of those taxes is $48,721.39. However, due to the fact that the assessor and the tax collector have collaborated and feel that it's a worthwhile endeavor, they asked me if I would waive the interest. Under Connecticut General Statutes, I'm not able to waive interest. The only folks who can waive interest is the highest elected body, which is the town council. So request through them to me, to you, is to vote to waive $17,276 of interest for the past 3 years. The town never sent tax bills for those abatements, so we feel it's the fair thing to do is to not. They will have 30 days. After 30 days, the taxes will all come fully due, but the law gives us 30 days to waive it.
Can you
So
repeat that number? I'm sorry.
$17,276, and the interest is 1.5% per month. And it's not compound.
And just to clarify, that's because we did not send the bills out for those.
We sent the bills with the exemptions on them. The exemptions should have not have been on. So the taxpayers saw that they were getting the exemptions. They either saw it and didn't call us and let us know, or they just didn't see it.
I'm really glad to hear that the assessor went and did this. If you remember, it was maybe a year and a half ago when the Economic Development Coordinator came in, and it was discussed at the council, and we did say we would like to see an audit and a detail of what exemptions were rolling off the books and when they're coming on. And I think, you're cleaning up here. That's great. I think we should keep I think there should be a report out a couple times a year to the council of what's coming on and what's coming off with tax abatements, so that we keep that in the front line of sight here.
So we've implemented a twice-a-year meeting, once in the spring, once in the fall, to go over, so it's economic development, finance, assessor, and tax collector. We're gonna meet twice a year, go over everything, and then publish Mitch actually has automated it, but we're gonna go over just and verify the automation's working, and then we'll bring
Okay.
to you and the Board of Finance as well.
Thank you.
And Strike as well.
Yep. Item I, Plantsville Pocket Park grand opening, proposed 6 PM, July 13, 2026.
Easiest thing we have tonight, as everybody knows, the Plantsville Parklet is completed. It looks phenomenal. It was the last kind of top of the Christmas tree for Plantsville, the whole Plantsville project. Your next meeting is July 13th. We've got executive session, and it is one meeting per July. So I'm asking at 6 o'clock if we could have a quick ribbon cutting, take some photos, and just celebrate that. If you drive by, it looks phenomenal. The highway department saved the town a boatload of money. We didn't sod it, we seeded it, we did everything we could to try to keep it under, so we're lower budget than we originally thought, and we really want to just celebrate that, and invite the public to come out and share.
And that's our July meeting.
July
Correct.
13th.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Town Attorney's Report, item 6.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no report tonight. The only thing I ask is that the sewer code revision be added to old business for a vote.
The what?
Sewer code revision.
Okay, so item H, action.
Make a motion to add to the agenda as recommended by the town attorney.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Chris and a second from Kristen for action on sewer code revision. That's item H under old business. Any discussion on that? Okay.
Okay, Mr.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, just quickly, I also wanted to add, on the noise ordinance, do we need town council authorization to essentially get rid of it and hold it in review for looking at later down the road? Do we need town council a vote to authorize that? Or can we do it based on the ordinance committee?
Would you be open to having the town attorney just look into that?
Yeah, do it next
just
time.
That's the
It'd be
first,
another public hearing.
okay.
So if we can add another public hearing to the next meeting.
So we need a
So
public
do-
hearing, to modify the ordinance, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's the same process we just did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Now, we're done with town attorney's report?
Yes,
Okay.
that's all for me. Thank you.
Item 7, public communications. If there's anybody here from the public who would like to come up and speak? Come on up. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Andrew Rennie, 144 Eden Ave. I had quite a bit prepared, and in interest of time, I'm going to condense this based on everything that we heard. First of all, I'm a 15-year volunteer firefighter here in Southington, currently serving the department as captain of Engine Company 1. In that time, I've had a lot of great experiences and great opportunities to give back to the community, a community that I moved to in November 16 years ago, and put in my application as a volunteer 1 month after moving into town. Came from a city that was completely a career fire department, so I knew very little about volunteer firefighting. I had a whole lot of stuff to talk about assistant chiefs and executive assistants and the importance that I have seen those positions in the department. And I'm going to condense it down to speak a little bit more personally, because I think one thing that I heard that spoke volumes was the fact that our chief hasn't had a day off since October. And he says don't feel bad for him. And it's not about feeling good or feeling bad, because honestly, in the fire service, feelings don't matter. Actions do. And if you were looking for a firefighter's firefighter, if you were looking for a man of action, if you were looking for someone who gave absolutely everything of his being, he's sitting in the back corner in a white shirt right now. And he's looking for your assistance in allowing for him to not be a statistic of heart and hypertension. He's looking to you to give him the assistance to effectively create, support, and drive a department forward to protect your constituents, to protect the people that we stood in front of Kathy, and every single one of us raised our right hand and swore to protect. He's looking for assistance from you to do his job better. The assistant chief is not just a position of glory. In fact, I would say that pretty much past one bugle, there's very little glory, and there's a lot of headaches and responsibility that weighs very heavy on career and volunteers. However, the more we put on the leadership of the department without having that assistance, he ran down what, in my opinion, was a very short list of what he actually does. And on top of that, I can tell you, at 1 o'clock in the morning after a call, I get a text message from him. How's everyone doing? Is everyone all right? No one got hurt? And at 3 o'clock in the morning, if something did happen, if I reached out to him, I would venture to say that it wouldn't ring more than twice before he answered. And he would be at that department beside his men and women that he has dedicated his life to serving. Each and every one of you has asked him for more information concerning the SAFER grant, data, numbers, salaries, asking him to do a deeper dive. What would you like him to not do? Would you like him to not look out for his firefighters? Would you like him to drop the ball somewhere else because you can only juggle so much? Yet you're asking for more, and you're asking for more under a very tight deadline. Think of the irony. Give the man the opportunity to do what he has done so successfully. He's burdened. And yet, in my 15 years, I've served under some great chiefs. In this stress and in this burden, I think I'm serving under the most successful so far. Don't take that away by continuing to burden and not allowing him to be the successful chief that he's already proven he can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
I'm not sure I can actually top that. Well done. Hello, good evening. My name is Jeff Dufresne. I live at 235 Mandel Drive in Southington. I would like to begin by thanking each one of you for your service to our community. I also want to acknowledge some of my comments recently on Facebook regarding this issue may have come across a little harsh. I apologize in advance for that. My concerns have never been personal. They stem from a genuine disagreement with certain decisions that we've made around public safety. I am here tonight to support Chief Lee's and the Commission's request to pursue the SAFER grant and increase fire department staffing. Over the years, we have seen a significant decline in availability of our response from our volunteers as well as our off-duty staff. As a former volunteer myself, I have witnessed firsthand how dramatically response levels have changed. This is not just a Southington issue. This is a challenge facing fire departments across Connecticut and the country. I closely follow some emergency responses. I often listen to the radio traffic. The reality is emergency incidents are frequently being handled with staffing levels far below what is acceptable, what is needed, and ideal. Getting the appropriate number of firefighters to an emergency scene in a timely manner is critical to protecting lives, property, and safety of our firefighters themselves, and our residents deserve better. Over the years, we've made significant decisions. I've looked at some of the things that we've done on an operational footprint that we've reduced, including the fire stations that we've closed. We've consolidated to Station 3. We invested significant resources into that construction. Yet today, that station does not have round-the-clock staffing. The apparatuses housed there represent a substantial investment to us. We've all invested in those million-dollar trucks, and they sit there idle and don't respond around the clock. That's just ludicrous to me. I believe pursuing the federal funding through a SAFER grant program is a smart and responsible approach. It provides an opportunity to strengthen emergency services that the chief is asking for while reducing the burden on the taxpayers. I hope you will support this initiative and support the Chief Lee's request, and most importantly, support the residents who depend on the fire department during their most critical moments. I know my time is limited. I don't want to sit here all night, but there were some maps up there that were pretty alarming to me. Over 8-minute response times. That's unheard of. Didn't happen in the community I worked in, and I'm terrified that it happens here. I'm disappointed, but if you have any other questions, I'm always available. Ask Chip for my number. I'll talk to you. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody else who would like to speak tonight? Last call? Okay. We will close the public communications and move on to old business. Item 8, action on fire memorandum for authorization to apply for FEMA assistance to firefighters grant.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Mike and a second from the vice chair to approve. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Serafino?
Yes.
Zoni?
Yes.
Clack?
Yes.
Del Santo?
Yes.
Gaida?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Would you repeat that, Jim?
That's a yes.
Thank you.
Morrison,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Item B, action on fire memorandum for authorization to apply for federal DOT SS4A grant.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Chris and a second from Mike. Any discussion on that? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Serafino,
Yes.
Zoni,
Yes.
Clack,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
Gaida,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Action on 682 Curtis Street preliminary roadway construction cost estimate memorandum.
I'm going to make a motion to approve so we can discuss it.
We have a motion to approve. Would anybody like to make a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second from the vice chair for discussion. Floor's open. Mike, since you made
Yeah,
the motion.
So I just want to get into it. I've always been a proponent for applying for these grants, and especially the STEEP grant, because I think it's a good source of income for potential contractors that want to bring business into town. And we saw what happened last month. Our grand list is suffering. Asking the applicant to chip in for the cost share. I'm not sure we've done that often, Alex, but I do know that the entire STEEP grant could be $500,000, and it looks like the project is going to come in under $500,000. So in speaking with the applicant, he did say that if it was over the STEEP grant and the cost share from the town of Southington, then obviously he'd be on the hook. He would have to pay that, but he's not interested in the 20% cost share from the town to chip in. So I guess my question to you, Alex, have we done that in the past when we applied for the STEEP grant? Have other applicants helped with cost share?
Not to my recollection. I believe some applicants have chipped in on projects, but not specifically to the grant itself.
And the other piece of this puzzle, unfortunately, is that the STEEP grant has to be for a project that's shovel-ready. And the applicant has expressed that he's not interested in paying for the engineering for that. And in the strike meeting, we spoke of the town covering it, and the first closing of one of the properties on this project, he would have to pay the town back for the engineering. In a last-ditch effort to see if he would take that back and pay for the engineering, he said no, he wouldn't. So I leave it up to the board. I did not know that the Economic Development Coordinator had another project in the wings. And so I just wanted to get that information out there. I've said it before, I'll say it again, sometimes you have to spend it to make it. And I do know from Lou that if this project were to go forward, he'd have zero problems filling all of these spots. And this is I-2. This typically brings in the most bang for the buck as far as tax dollars go. So that's all I have to say. I support it, but I completely understand if the board does not, especially if someone wants to come in that is interested in doing some of the cost share. Because, as it's been said a few times tonight, we're just broke. There's just no money.
Just to clarify, the agenda item is 682 Curtis Street preliminary roadway construction cost estimate memorandum. So this is basically a memorandum that tells us that it's going to roughly cost $450,000 for the roadway, right?
That's right.
So
The town's end is gonna be
this is not for a STEEP grant. The request here is
What
not
was
for a
that,
STEEP
Mike?
grant. The request is actually for what? Because we have an estimate on the roadway, but is there a request for us to fund something? Is that what?
Well, the problem is, in order for the steep grant to occur, there has to be a shovel-ready project.
We got to
This
design
is-
it. It's got to be designed.
That's right. And if the engineering's not done before they apply for the steep grant, then we'll never get it because it's not shovel-ready. Once the engineering is done, that makes it shovel-ready.
So is the owner asking us to fund the design, the engineering?
Correct.
And do we know what that cost is? Because that's not in the memo.
One of the last projects that we did close to this was the Fregola property, Sepco Farm, and it was around $24,000. And Lou suggests that it may be more than that. for
About
this. Yeah.
assuming about 10% on design.
Could be about upwards of $35,000 to $40,000.
Okay.
And that money would come back to the town of Southington at the first closing of the project.
Understood.
So, Mr. Chair, if you, last meeting, the strike committee brought a recommendation to the town council to fund the engineering and then also apply for the steep grant. The town council asked me to, tabled it, asked me to come back with a cost construction estimate of the roadway and a possible estimate of the out-of-pocket for engineering. So that's what we're back, we're really back for the steep grant, but you need to determine if you want to front those costs before you
Right,
do
I'm just,
anything.
what I'm saying is, those costs are not in the memo that we have. There's no estimate on what it would cost us to fund the engineering.
There's no good estimate, just 10% is the rough.
So 10% of 450.
Minus the contingency. The contingency is 20% of that, so around 40.
Understood. Okay. Anybody else have a,
I got a question.
Tony?
Alex, what, if the parcels were all sold, what's the estimated tax that we accrue from that?
Impossible to determine because we don't know what's being put on them right now.
Yeah, okay, all right. Fair enough.
something with a lot of personal property would obviously be bigger, something with less personal property could be smaller.
Manufacturing would be almost nothing because it's all tax-free.
Right, understood,
It depends on the building and what they're doing.
Okay. Josh?
What is the total cost of the town, assuming the engineering will get
Repaid
washed,
back.
right? We're gonna front it, and after the first closing, what is the cost for the steep grant?
20%. So if it's $460,000, 46 times 2 is, what's that, 92,000? But it may be less than that because there's a 20% contingency. So anywhere between 60 and 80 grand.
And then, but then that builds up our tax base, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a number that's being paid right now for the raw land, and I would imagine that's fairly low. Then once there's 5 projects on it, or 5 different units on it, it'll be increased.
Once planning and zoning approves it and files the Mylar, then the clock starts ticking and the taxes start coming in a little bit better.
An example, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
An example given about that SEPCO property. Before it was developed, it brought in $5,000 per year. Over the last 3 years, it brought in $238,000 in taxes each year. That's just property taxes.
You know, in other words, we're going to invest or gamble, whatever you want, the engineering cost in order to make that roadway shovel-ready so we can apply for a steep grant. And the steep grant is where the money will come in.
Correct.
So it's a judgment call. Those things have been kind to us in the past.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Oh, sorry, Alex.
This just piggyback off you, Mr. Morrison.
Yeah.
If you do front the engineering cost, you may not get the steep grant.
Yes, right.
And it may just sit too.
Okay. True.
Any other discussion?
And the business owner doesn't want to front any of the costs?
Unfortunately not.
Damned if you do.
So that's, if that weighs in your decision, that's completely understandable.
Any other discussion?
Well, I guess we could table this based on Lou is working with somebody else on a similar kind of deal. So can we table it or just ignore it till then?
Is there a deadline for the steep grant?
Yeah, there is, but it's not till
September.
September. Yeah, there's time.
They come up every year. The steep grants are reoccurring
It's
every
an
year.
election year,
Yeah.
so we're very optimistic about a grant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I suggest we wait till then, see what Lou comes up with.
So is that a motion, Tony?
It's a motion.
Motion for,
I'll second.
To table?
Motion to table
And then
68
we have a
Third
second from
Street.
Chris. Oh, I'm sorry.
I won't go into
We have a
detail.
motion to table, and we have a second from Chris. That
There's a motion pending
supersedes,
already.
the motion to table supersedes any other motion. So we have a motion from Tony to table and a second from Chris. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Serafino?
Yes.
Zoni?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Del Santo?
Yes.
Gaida?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Chaplinsky?
Yes, the motion to table passes unanimously. Item number D, action on permission to apply for 2026 SAFER Grant.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve. I've said some things earlier. Those apply now. I think it's important.
We have a motion to approve the request to apply. Second from Josh. Discussion. Chris, go ahead.
Again, I'd like to ask if we can get information. The chief said he'd try to get it for us, not just for this, but for the other two items. I think it's important that we have a sense financially within the department of how to fund them. I'm not opposed to this, but I'd like to hear information and have all the information before making a vote. So, you know, you had mentioned maybe a special meeting. I think that's appropriate, so we can have all the information when we're actually voting on it.
And Chris, I would like to talk through this a little bit. Is your support for this contingent upon the fire department supporting this 100% out of their own budget?
Well, I think there's a couple options. If the fire department can say, we can do it within our budget, but the hiring would start in June 2027, or whatever. We just don't have the information to make a decision. And I'd like to hear where the money's coming from, because I don't know where the money's gonna come from.
If you're concerned about the money, we could also ask the motioner if he wants to put a stipulation to hire July 1st, as Kristen had mentioned.
2027.
Yeah. I mean, that would allow them to apply for the grant now, but the hiring, and then what they could do is work out between now and then, we work out the financing and we put it in the next budget.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate too, as long as we have a sense. But the reason I didn't want to do that is because if they can come back and say, hey, we can cover 2 months, if we make a motion July 1st, then we potentially are holding off a hiring by 2 months if they have funds in their department.
I mean, we can ask the chief to come back up. I mean, the question is, you know, would the chief like to see, if the chief said, hey, you know what, that 2 months is really important, I'll try to find a way to fund that, and let me come back to you in a week, we could schedule a
Can I ask, what if we what if we merge both and make a motion that if they have the funding in their department, go by their time frame. If
Fine.
not, then we go by
then we go by the
1st.
July 1st.
What
Fine.
about the extra bonus?
With all due respect, can we just apply for the grant? And then we will try and figure out where I can pull the funds from. If I'm gonna be close to hire prior to July 1, which the town manager would not appreciate, I can probably do it that way.
So if
And
he
then
can work it
becomes
out
a
to-
funding problem, it can become a July 1 problem next year, as long as my budget doesn't get decimated.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just think that
that's
should
good.
be in I think that should be in the motion, because I'm
That's
not
fine.
comfortable voting blindly.
Again,
without-
it's just for the application, because you guys can
Yeah.
turn it down at any time.
I'll amend my motion with
So
that
that it's a
information.
default of
it's
July 1.
Contingent upon July 1.
Or
unless-
July of
Yeah.
2027.
But we have to also consider, as I'm sitting here amending my motion, Alex talked about the super bonus, like
Yeah.
July 1,
Yeah,
there's new
that
tax
makes-
ramifications and 457Bs.
If you can make it work and just wait 2 more months to allow that to go through, that may also address some of the other concerns
So I'll amend my motion,
for a July hire.
July hire.
Is it July 1, Alex? 27. Right, but is it July 1 that we can hire, or is it, you know, like
Let's do
July
July
15?
2nd.
Okay.
7-2.
How about the motion, Mike, if you're going to amend it, the motion is in July of 27, so that it's in concert with the new Seamers plan.
Or after July 4th, who wants to be the holiday.
Right.
Our 251st birthday?
Okay, so you got that?
Yes.
So you're going to amend your
What you
motion to
just
that?
said. I'll amend my motion to everything
You
Paul just
seconded it?
said.
Okay, Josh will second.
Second.
Okay, good. So
Sorry,
that-
Sorry, Angela, when she's typing next week.
It's July.
July 2nd?
Yeah, July, yeah, after the Seamers expires is the intent. Or after the Seamers is reduced.
And that also kicks the entire thing to the next budget cycle.
Yes. Yep, okay. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Serafino,
Yes.
Zoni,
Yes.
Clack,
Yes.
Del Santo.
Yes.
Gaida,
Yes.
Morelli,
Sorry, guys, I have to vote no. I think the magnitude is too large for us to take on that burden in one meeting.
Morrison,
No.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, the motion passes 7-2. Okay, we're going to move on to item E, action for Assistant Fire Chief hiring.
I'll make a motion to support the recommendation for 3-month assistant chief delayed hiring and send to the Board of Finance to determine the financing for that.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second, and so just to clarify, the motion is to move it from the 8-month delay to 3-month and ask the Board of Finance to find ways to make that work. Okay. And we have a second from Mike. Discussion.
Would that include the Board of Finance working with the fire department to look for ways within the department to try to find the sources for funding?
I think so, yeah. I would expect that would be a discussion between them to see where the levers can be pulled and pushed, yeah, within the fire department and the budget overall. Okay, other discussions? Chris?
It's not on the agenda, but we also heard the need for the executive assistant. Is that?
That's
part-
the next item. Yep.
That's the emergency
spiked it up.
services
Yep.
administrative, okay.
Any other discussion? Tony?
Where would the assistant fire chief be hired from? Would they be hired internally or externally? Is one of my questions.
I think that's the fire commission's decision. They'll probably post it and conduct interviews and,
Okay.
take whoever
So
the
we
best
don't know.
candidate is.
So we don't know, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could I ask a clarification, Mr.
Please,
Chair?
yep.
Is the motion that the Board of Finance has to find the money as well? So it's a dual motion, hire if they can find the money for 3 months? Is that what the motion was?
Well, the motion is to cut it down from 8 months to 3 months, and Board of Finance has to find the money.
They have to find it?
Correct.
Okay, Chris?
Can I just, I don't even know if this is to the town attorney or who, just a clarifying question. We're essentially taking a budget vote to override the Board of Finance, because the Board of Finance is the one that made this recommendation. Typically, that's a 6-vote overturn within the budget process, but we're beyond the budget. We've already adopted the budget. So I'm just wondering logistically, how do we?
I'll offer an opinion on that. I believe what the answer to that is, I believe the Board of Finance needs to look for the money, and they're gonna have to take this up as an agenda item, and correct me if I'm right here. They're gonna have to take it up as an agenda item, and what they do is they make a recommendation back to council. And they basically recommend, yes, they can do it, no, they can't. Yes, they can, here's 2 or 3 options, and they make a recommendation. And then the council approves that or doesn't approve that via the approval of the meeting minutes that they put forward. If that's.
I agree. That's probably the best method at this point.
Yep. So if they say, hey, we can't fund this, there's no possible way to pull a lever on this, then that recommendation would come back to council, and we would take that recommendation and disposition it at our next meeting.
Okay.
So we would then either approve or not approve the meeting minutes.
So I guess procedurally, is this a 5-vote or a
Yes,
6-vote?
it's a
approval?
5 vote, yeah.
Because again, normally, it does require 6 votes to override the Board of Finance, and we're kind of bypassing the normal budget procedure. Because the Board of Finance recommended the reduction. Normally, if we want to overturn it, you need 2/3 vote of the council to do that. We're essentially bypassing the normal process. I just want to understand, because I don't know that we've ever had a
Correct.
like this.
This is not a budget, this is not the budget cycle. I would agree with you, during the budget cycle, it's the Board of so here's my understanding, and correct me to the town attorney. This is not during the budget cycle, so it's not 6 votes tonight, but what would happen is this. We make a recommendation to the Board of Finance that they should find some money for this. They're gonna vote on it, one way or another, and if they vote yes, it's 5 votes for us to support their motion. If they vote no, and they say there's no money, we can't do it, it's 6 votes to override their no. That's how,
Okay, just gonna say it another way, I'm not worried about this vote so much. I'm worried about procedurally and setting a precedent. So that means next year, if we don't like the vote of a Board of Finance, who are in the majority, we could just vote in the budget process, then a month later resurrect the issue and only require 5 votes to then overturn. I mean,
That's
to
not
me-
overturning it. Remember, that's not what I'm saying, Chris. What I'm saying is, this is a recommendation to Board of Finance. It's not a final budget decision. This is a recommendation to the Board of Finance. They need to take some action, and the outcome of that action for us is, us in support is a 5-vote action. If they say no, then we have to have a supermajority to overturn it.
And I hear where you're coming from. You know, I understand completely where you're coming from. I think it's what stage we're in, and if it makes anybody more comfortable, I'm more than happy to look into it further, see if it's happened in the past, and issue a legal opinion on it. I do hear Paul's point that it's 2 different points in time, but I agree with you. It could set up for an issue in the future if we say, well, we just don't necessarily agree with it, so let's send it back down to town council, send it back up, and we could continue to ping pong it.
Right.
But this is no different than any other discussion that we have at the council. A steep grant, for example, that's, like Chris, if we get requested for a steep grant, for example, 20% steep grant on $1 million, and we got to come up with a couple $100,000, we pass that here.
Yeah.
That wasn't budgeted. We pass that here. It goes to the Board of Finance. They end up funding it.
So again, the issue isn't about this event item, because it could pass 9-0, that's a moot point.
Right.
It totally could. That's not my point. I'm concerned that in a typical budget cycle, per the charter, the Board of Finance reduces something, you cannot overturn it with just 5 votes. You need 6 votes to overturn any line item recommendation from the Board of Finance. We're essentially bypassing that now and saying that was a line item recommendation, and now a month later, we're turning and saying, well, we have 5 votes, it's sending it back to the Board of Finance, and then they send it back to us. We approve minutes with 5 votes, not 6. So again, I'm not concerned about this, because again, it might be 9-0. I'm concerned about just the process moving forward. So I don't think it's bad, Paul, to get a legal opinion, just so we have an answer. I mean, we can still vote on this tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I support it. Tony?
No, I think Chris is exactly right. I think it's setting a really seriously bad precedent. But the precedent it sets, we have to think about. The precedent is this. 4 weeks ago, we were all here, and we all voted. It was a bipartisan vote for the operations budget of the town, in which this was part of. We all voted for it, and then 4 weeks later, we're reversing ourselves. I'm not sure what that says about our judgment, and I think that's a bigger issue than just the procedural thing that Chris mentioned.
Thank you, Tony. Any other discussions? Okay. I would like to get consensus here. Does everybody support the town attorney taking this as an action to look at following tonight? Like you said, we can go forward the vote, but I think by the next meeting, we also should have some clarity as to what this looks like going forward. Yep.
So we vote
Is that okay?
again? Or we just
No,
table?
this is just a consensus for the town attorney
Okay,
to take that action.
But I mean, the more I'm thinking about it, if we're not looking to add this position back in until September, should we table it until we get an opinion and make an educated decision at that time? Again, it's not about this per se, it's just about procedurally moving forward in the principle of it.
I'm just concerned that it's, I understand where we're going with this, but we have a person who's come here and saying it's mercy. And so my concern is we continue to push this off. I don't think it's going to change the outcome here. The outcome is going to be the Board of Finance is going to have to look at it, and we're going to have to look at it again. It's going to come back to us. The Board of Finance is going to look at it again. We're going to have to look at it again, look at their recommendation. We do this all the time. We make inter-budget decisions all the time. Nobody's saying to increase the budget. So we're not, this vote is to not increase the budget. This vote is to have the Board of Finance find money within the existing budget to figure out exactly how to fund this. So it's not an increase of the budget. Josh?
This is also going to take time for Board of Finance to go and find that. And then it's going to take time to go and set up interviews and hire them. And that's just kicking the can more down the road by another month. Just pointing that out.
The town attorney can do we can start the process, and the town attorney, instead of wasting 2 weeks, the town attorney can start the process. And if we get 2 weeks from now, he can tell the Board of Finance that there's an issue, and it could always get put back to, square one instead of delaying.
To be clear, I'm not suggesting moving back the date they're asking for. I'm suggesting just delaying our vote 2 weeks, not a month. Motion to table.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to table in a second. Madam Clerk?
Serafino?
No.
Zoni?
Yes.
Clock?
No.
Del Santo?
No.
Gaida?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Chaplinsky?
No, motion to table passes 5-4, if my math is correct. Okay, so we will take this up at our next meeting. Let's move on to item F, action on emergency services administrative collaboration recommendations. I think really, I don't even know if this is really a vote, this is a consensus. If everybody agrees to have the town manager work with the chief and the other leaders of the community that they feel are necessary to help look at how this gets absorbed and
Just a quick thing. Do we need a consensus on having the town manager do his job with the other two chiefs?
Yeah, we don't. You know what? I think it's good that we raised the issue and that we talked about it a little bit, and I think it helps, just put this forefront in everybody's minds, and kind of solidifies that it's something that we'd like to see a resolution on. Okay, everybody's good with that? Okay, awesome. Item G, action on CGS Section 12-145 interest waiver. We're looking for a motion on whether to approve the interest
I'll
waiver.
make a motion to approve that.
Mike, motion.
Second.
Second, Dave Zoni. Any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Serafino?
Yes.
Zoni?
Yes.
Clock?
Yes.
Del Santo?
Yes.
Gaida?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Chaplinsky?
Okay, yes, motion passes unanimously on the interest waiver approval. Item H, action on sewer code revision from the public hearing earlier.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilwoman Gaida and Councilman Morrison. Any discussion on that?
I just want
Chris.
to thank the town staff. This has been talked about for months. I feel like 6 months, 7 months. So really, thank you, the town staff. I'm glad we're finally able to cross the finish line with this project.
Thank you, Chris. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll on the sewer code revision.
Serafino?
Yes.
Zoni?
Yes.
Clock?
Yes.
Del Santo?
Yes.
Gaida?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Chaplinsky?
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Item 9, new business. A, tax refunds.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the tax refunds as presented in our packets.
Second.
A motion to approve from Councilwoman Gaida and Tony is the second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're looking.
Motion to adjourn into executive session.
Second.
Depending on land acquisition, sale of north and central parcels.
Can we have
General
a 5-minute
Statute 1-296, Section D.
And that's including the town manager and the town attorney, but excluding the public and the press.
Second.
Press and the public.
Thank you.
And M&M.
And Tony's that got the second.
Yes.
All right, all in favor to go to executive session? Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.